You're about to experience something different, something radically beyond motivational talk, goal setting, or surface-level positive thinking. Because the truth is, if self-improvement was just about trying harder or thinking better, most people would already be living their dream lives. But they're not. Despite the books, workshops, podcasts, and daily affirmations, real transformation still escapes the majority. Why? Because they've been looking in the wrong direction. They've been treating their mind and body as if they're machines that just need the right upgrades. When the truth is far stranger and far more powerful. Science is revealing something shocking. You are not just a body. You are not just a brain. You are a field of intelligent, responsive energy, constantly interacting with a quantum universe that listens, responds, and mirrors back your inner state. You've been using a sliver of your potential, solving physical problems with physical tools, when the operating system underneath it all is vibrational, energetic, quantum. This isn't philosophy, it's physics. And once you begin to understand how this hidden layer of reality operates, how thoughts, emotions, attention, and intention shift the fabric of your biology and your outcomes, everything begins to change. Not slowly, not someday, but immediately. This series isn't here to entertain you with science trivia or fringe theories. This is a fully structured, 40-part blueprint designed to walk you through the most powerful principles of quantum self-improvement, step by step, so you can permanently rewire how you think, feel, act, and attract results into your life. Here's what you can expect. First, we'll reveal the true nature of who and what you are beyond your body, beyond your identity. We'll dismantle the illusion that you're limited to your biology or upbringing. Then, we'll examine how your mind is already communicating in quantum language, constantly sending out vibrational instructions, most of which you're unaware of. We'll uncover the science behind how your thoughts impact your body, not metaphorically, but at a measurable physiological level. Cells respond, hormones shift, immune responses rise or fall, and you'll learn how to take control of that. You'll discover that your relationships, your finances, your environment, even your sense of time, are not separate from your internal state. They are feedback systems, reflecting your energetic signature back at you. Most importantly, you'll learn how to change that signature, how to install a new energetic code, and how to maintain it not through willpower, but through alignment with the quantum field that surrounds and permeates all things. Each topic is carefully crafted to build on the one before it. This isn't a casual watch. This is an awakening in progress. So stay with me, watch closely, let each part stretch your understanding. Don't look away when it challenges what you've believed for years. Because what we're about to explore has the power to rewire not just your habits, but your entire human experience. We begin where the transformation truly starts, not with what you do, but with what you are. Let's reveal the truth hiding beneath your skin. The energy field that science is only beginning to understand, and the power you've had all along. Let's start by clearing out a fundamental misunderstanding that has shaped almost everything you've been taught about yourself. You are not a machine made of flesh and bone. You are not simply the product of genetics and childhood programming. You are not a collection of chemical reactions producing thoughts and emotions. You are energy, structured energy, conscious energy, and every cell, thought, and feeling within you operates within a larger energetic framework. A field. Modern physics has already shattered the old model. At the subatomic level, matter stops behaving like solid particles and starts behaving more like patterns of probability. Electrons don't exist in fixed locations. They exist in clouds of potential, shifting according to observation and influence. In other words, what looks physical is actually non-physical. It's frequency, vibration, organized energy appearing solid through perception. So what does that mean for you? It means your body is not just a collection of organs. It's a projection of your field. It's the densest part of your energy, but not the only part. Surrounding you, moving through you, and interacting with everything around you is an electromagnetic signature that is uniquely yours. This is your energetic blueprint, and it's not philosophical. Can be measured. Your heart, for example, emits an electromagnetic field that extends several feet beyond your body. That field carries emotional data. It fluctuates based on your inner state, anger, peace, joy, or fear, and influences the people around you, even without words. Your brain also generates a field, and brainwaves can entrain or sync with those around you. You've felt this before, walking into a room and instantly sensing tension or peace without a single word spoken. That's your energy reading the field. But it goes even further. The quantum field, what some physicists call the zero-point field, is a web of infinite potential. Every thought you think, every emotion you generate ripples into that field. Your field doesn't stop at your skin. It's in constant conversation with the greater field around you. Now, here's where it gets truly transformational. That field responds. The frequencies you emit become instructions, signals. They tell the field what to organize around you. Your experiences, the people you attract, the opportunities that show up, even your health, all of it is shaped by your signal. When your energy is chaotic, filled with contradiction and confusion, the field reflects chaos. When your energy is coherent, meaning your thoughts, emotions, and intentions are aligned, the field responds with clarity, synchronicity, and flow. This is not mystical thinking. Coherence can be tracked in the lab, can be trained, and it can be used to heal, grow, and expand in every direction. But here's the critical truth. Most people are leaking energy. Their thoughts say one thing, their emotions say another. Their body is holding old trauma, while their mind is racing into the future. The result? A scrambled field, a weak signal, a self-sabotaging loop. That's why effort alone doesn't work. Willpower becomes exhausting when your energy is scattered. You can try to push forward with goals and plans, but if your field is misaligned, you will hit the same walls over and over again. To change your life, you must change your frequency. And to do that, you need to know what you're made of. You're not just brain and biceps. You're bioelectric. You're magnetic. You're a standing wave of information shaped by consciousness. And the key to upgrading your life begins with tuning this field like a precision instrument. So how do you do that? First, you stop looking at the external world as separate. Everything around you is responding to the field you carry. Your body, your health, your relationships, they're not happening to you. They're happening through you. Next, you stop treating your mind as the boss and your body as a dumb machine. Your body holds memory. It holds frequency. It holds trauma and wisdom. Ignoring it means ignoring half your power. Finally, you start becoming aware of what you're broadcasting every moment, not just through thoughts, but through feeling, posture, breath, and belief. Because once you see yourself not as a fixed object but as an energetic presence, one that interacts with the world at all times, you unlock the only door that truly matters, the door to choice. You can choose your frequency. And when you do, reality begins to shift. Now that you've seen what you truly are, not just a body but a living, breathing energy field, it's time to explore the machinery behind the curtain. Let's look inside the mind. Not the logical, conscious surface, but the deep quantum processor that's been operating below awareness. So far, you've discovered that you're not just a body. You're an energy field, dynamic, responsive, and deeply integrated with the quantum fabric of reality. This realization is more than just a shift in perspective. It's a shift in operating system. But the field doesn't run itself. Something has to guide it. That something is your mind, but not in the way you've been taught to think of it. The traditional view of the mind paints it as a biological machine, processing inputs, making decisions, controlling muscles, and storing memories like a hard drive. It's neat, it's mechanical, and it's completely outdated. Because your mind isn't a thing. It's a process, an interface, a quantum phenomenon with properties that defy conventional logic. Thoughts aren't just electrochemical blips inside your skull. They are vibrations. They exist as patterns in an invisible cloud of probabilities until they're focused. And that focus collapses possibility into reality. This is the same mechanism that governs particles in quantum experiments. When unobserved, a particle exists in a state of superposition, potentially in many places at once. When measured, it behaves like a single, definite entity. What causes that shift? Observation, tension, Now pause for a moment. Let that settle in. Your mind, by simply paying attention, triggers changes in the structure of reality. Your brain is not just recording reality. It's influencing it. You've already used this quantum ability, even if unknowingly. Have you ever fixated on a problem, only to start noticing clues and solutions everywhere? That wasn't coincidence. That was your reticular activating system tuning your awareness to align with your dominant focus. And your energy field starting to resonate with that signal. The brain is the receiver, the mind is the tuner, and the field around you is the amplifier. But there's more. Thoughts aren't isolated. They interact, they combine, they resonate, and that's where coherence or chaos arises. When your thoughts are scattered, thinking one thing, feeling another, doubting yourself while trying to affirm positivity, you create a fuzzy, unstable pattern. The field can't respond clearly. Your experience becomes inconsistent. Things start, then stall. You attract, then repel. You're sending mixed signals. But when your thoughts are focused, elevated, and aligned with your emotional state, something remarkable happens. You create a coherent pattern, and coherent patterns carry power. In neuroscience, coherence shows up as synchrony between regions of the brain, particularly when you're in states of meditation, gratitude, or creative flow. When this happens, the brain starts producing harmonized waves, like a symphony playing in tune. And those waves are measurable in the electromagnetic field. Now, why does that matter? Because a coherent field influences matter. It interacts with other fields. It draws things in, not in a mystical way, but in a resonance-based, physics-validated way. It's like tuning a radio. If you're vibrating at 98.7 FM, you won't hear what's happening on 104.2. You're not aligned with that frequency. Likewise, if your mind is broadcasting scarcity, fear, and frustration, you won't pick up the frequency of abundance, peace, and opportunity, no matter how badly you want to. To tune the mind, you need two things: clarity and awareness. Clarity means knowing the pattern you're choosing to project. Are you broadcasting uncertainty, victimhood, or presence, intention, and trust? Awareness means constantly checking in, because the signal can drift. Old programming can hijack your broadcast without warning. That's where most people get stuck. They try to change their life using surface-level affirmations, while their subconscious is still looping decades of fear and limitation. Let's be clear. The subconscious mind is not your enemy. It's a powerful quantum processor millions of times more capable than your conscious thoughts. But it obeys frequency, not words. Saying, "I am confident" means nothing if the energy underneath it is fear. But when the thought and the energy align, when the statement is backed by coherent emotion, the field takes notice. The mind becomes a conductor, not a repeater. Another critical piece: non-locality. This is a principle in quantum physics that shows how particles can influence each other instantly, regardless of distance. Translation: your mind is not confined to your skull. Your thoughts reach beyond your body. They impact the environment. They impact others. This isn't fantasy. Studies in heart-brain coherence have shown that focused intention can affect living systems from a distance. Plants, water, even human subjects respond to coherent intention sent from another location. So now, rethink how you set goals. Rethink how you approach conflict. Rethink how you judge yourself and others. Every thought is a frequency, and every frequency is a vote cast into the quantum field. Now let's take this deeper. Most people use their minds reactively. Something happens and they respond. But the quantum mind doesn't wait for reality, it generates it. It acts as the projector, not the screen. You can learn to prime your field in the morning with focused visualization. Not imagining for fun, but for function. Because when you rehearse a new identity, one that feels real and emotionally charged, you're not daydreaming. You're initiating a frequency. You're building a new pattern that, when repeated, becomes stronger than your old identity. Repetition builds momentum. Momentum builds coherence. Coherence creates change. And here's the final truth in this layer. The quantum mind is limitless, but it needs direction. Without focus, it generates randomness. Without emotion, it has no fuel. And without belief, it stalls out. You don't need more information. You need energetic clarity. So use your mind like the quantum instrument it is. Direct it, feel it, believe it, and watch as the field begins to organize around your upgraded signal. You've now seen how the mind operates not as a logical thinker, but as a quantum transmitter. But if thought sends the signal, what receives it? What translates that information into real, tangible outcomes in your body and in the world? The answer lies in a strange and controversial phenomenon that breaks the rules of classical science. The observer effect. That's where we're heading next. You've now seen how your mind isn't a machine. It's a quantum transmitter, constantly influencing your reality through frequency, coherence, and intention. That alone rewrites what it means to be human. But there's an even deeper mechanism at play. One that shatters the illusion of separation between what's happening in your head and what's unfolding in the world around you. It's called the observer effect, and understanding it changes everything. In quantum physics, when scientists try to study particles like electrons or photons, they run into a strange problem. These particles don't behave like tiny marbles. They behave like waves, existing as a cloud of probabilities, not fixed objects. That is, until something observes them. Once observed, once measured, they collapse from all possible locations into a single, definite state. In other words, the act of observation determines the outcome, not the setup, not the tools, not the particle's past behavior. It's the observer that changes the result. Now pause. That one concept flips classical science on its head. Reality isn't passive. It's reactive. And attention is the trigger. Now you might ask, that's in a lab. What does that have to do with my life? Everything. Because the same consciousness that causes electrons to collapse into reality is the consciousness flowing through you. Every time you focus, you're collapsing possibilities. Every time you obsess over what might go wrong, you're energizing that potential. Every time you hold a clear vision of success, you're locking that timeline into a more probable outcome. This isn't metaphorical. It's functional. Attention shapes form. Your reality isn't unfolding independently of your awareness. It's responding to it. You're not a spectator. You're a participant. And the spotlight of your focus is the tool you've been using all along, without realizing it. But here's the catch. Most people don't focus consciously. They focus reactively. Their attention is hijacked by fear, media, negativity, and unresolved emotions. The result? They energize timelines they don't want. They collapse possibilities that don't serve them. So here's the breakthrough. You can train your attention. Start noticing what you give energy to. Because where your attention goes, your energy flows. And what you energize expands. Have you ever been so focused on a problem that it seemed to multiply? Or so in love with an idea that opportunities began to appear from nowhere? That's the observer effect in motion. The quantum field is constantly reconfiguring itself in response to your focused awareness. It's not magic. It's mechanics. But let's go deeper. Because attention isn't just about thought, it's about quality. There's a world of difference between fragmented attention and intentional presence. When you look at something with full presence, not multitasking, not judging, not anticipating, something remarkable happens. You amplify coherence. You bring your mind, body, and emotion into the same frequency. And the field responds more powerfully. Focused attention becomes sacred, not because of what you look at, but because of how you look. This is why mindfulness isn't just about stress reduction. It's quantum alignment. It's why elite performers speak about flow states, as if time bends and the environment synchronizes. It does, because attention becomes laser-like, and the field organizes to support that coherence. Now let's add another layer, the subconscious observer. You might think attention is a conscious process, but most of your attention is unconscious. That's why you keep recreating the same loops in relationships, finances, and health, because your deeper observer is still tuned to old beliefs, fears, and expectations. Rewiring this subconscious focus isn't about forcing positivity. It's about retraining the nervous system to feel safe holding a new pattern. That's where practices like breathwork, visualization, and meditation come into play. They bring unconscious attention patterns into awareness, where they can be reshaped. Let's be clear. The observer effect doesn't mean you can think things into existence with surface thoughts. It means your dominant vibration, your repeated, felt, focused attention, interacts with the quantum field like code. The longer and more consistently you focus on a particular outcome, the more stability it gains in the quantum realm. The more emotion and belief you add to that focus, the faster the field responds. And when multiple people focus together with emotional coherence, that signal becomes exponentially more powerful. This is why group intention experiments, yes, actual studies, have shown drops in crime rates, faster healing, and synchronized brain activity across distance. Your attention is not a flashlight. It's a laser, a frequency generator, a force that locks potential into pattern. But here's the paradox. You can't use attention mechanically. You can't force the outcome and expect it to work. Coherence only happens when the focus is relaxed, confident, and emotionally aligned. This is the true art of quantum creation. Intention without obsession. Desire without desperation. Focus without fear. Once you master that balance, reality begins to bend. Timelines rearrange. People show up. Opportunities align. Not because the universe is granting favors, but because your signal is finally strong enough to magnetize what was already possible. Now ask yourself, where have you been placing your attention? What have you been energizing consciously or unconsciously? And more importantly, what are you willing to focus on now that you know the cost of distraction? You've seen how the quantum mind transmits. Now you understand how observation shapes reality. But there's still a missing piece. How do you select the outcome you want among the sea of possibilities surrounding you? You've been collapsing outcomes all along without strategy. It's time to learn how to do it with precision. Because up next, you'll discover how to consciously choose your future by mastering the mechanics of possibility. Up to this point, you've uncovered the truth that you are more than biology. You're a vibrational field interfacing with a quantum universe. You've seen how your mind already operates on quantum principles, and you've grasped the stunning power of attention, how simply focusing on something begins to collapse that possibility into reality. Now, the question becomes razor sharp. If infinite possibilities exist in every moment, how do you select the one that leads to the life you want? It's not random, it's not chance, and it's not reserved for the gifted or spiritual elite. It's a science, a discipline, and it starts with a shift in how you perceive choice itself. You've been conditioned to think that life is something that happens to you, and that choices are reactive responses to what shows up. But the truth is far more empowering. Your choices are the command signals that activate quantum shifts. Every moment is a quantum moment, meaning there is not just one future ahead of you, there are countless versions, infinite timelines, different outcomes, each one shaped by your thoughts, your emotional state, your energy signature, and yes, your choices. Here's the part most people miss. The field doesn't respond to what you say you want. It responds to the version of you that you consistently become. To collapse a possibility into reality, you must align your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors with that version of reality, as if it's already unfolding. Now, that sounds like visualization, but this isn't about imagination. This is about alignment. Let's make this real. Say you want to experience financial abundance. Most people approach this by focusing on the lack of money and hoping to attract more. What are they really broadcasting? Scarcity, fear, doubt. That signal instructs the field to reinforce those states. Now flip the script. What if, instead of reacting to what's missing, you tuned your energy to the version of you who already lives in abundance? You shift your thoughts to trust. You train your nervous system to feel safe holding wealth. You choose actions that express worthiness and generosity, even in small ways. Suddenly, you're no longer asking for the reality, you're matching it. This is how possibilities collapse. Not by forcing the field to obey, but by broadcasting a signal so clear, so coherent, that the matching outcome becomes the most probable path forward. Quantum physics supports this Potential remains undefined until the system is forced into definition. Your consistent, repeated frequency is that force. Now let's take this even further. There's a tool for choosing your reality. One you already use daily without realizing its power. It's called decision. Most people treat decisions as reactions. But in the quantum model, decisions are creation tools. Each decision you make not only directs your behavior, it shifts your timeline. A decision made from fear leads to a different quantum trajectory than a decision made from vision. Even if the external outcome looks similar at first, the energetic imprint is different, and that imprint determines what unfolds next. This is why the question isn't what should I do, but who am I being as I choose this? Choosing from your highest self creates one kind of world. Choosing from your wounded self creates another. So let's talk about that highest version of you. Not the idealized fantasy, but the version that already exists in the field. Yes, already exists. In the quantum model, time is nonlinear. All possibilities already exist. Which means the future you, the one who's already living your vision, is just a frequency away. They're not waiting. They're broadcasting. Your job is not to chase that version. Your job is to tune into it. Ask yourself, how does that version think? Speak? Act? React? How do they carry themselves when no one is watching? Begin acting in alignment with that version, not once, not sporadically, but as a new default setting. The more you match that frequency, the more your reality must collapse around that signal. Now let's tackle the inner resistance. There will be moments when the old identity fights back, when doubt whispers, when the outer world doesn't yet reflect your new inner state. This is where most people stop. They interpret the lag between frequency and manifestation as failure. But it's not failure. It's field inertia. Reality takes time to reorganize around a new energetic signal. The key is holding the frequency long enough without flinching. Think of it like tuning a radio. When you switch frequencies, there's a moment of static before the new station locks in. That static is not wrong. It's transition. The old signal is fading. The new one is forming. This is where inner mastery begins, holding your new state, even when the outer world still shows the old one. Because the field doesn't respond to wishful thinking. It responds to stability. When your internal state becomes stable enough, when it no longer reacts to contradictions or delay, you've created quantum momentum. And then suddenly things begin to shift, often rapidly, seemingly out of nowhere. This is not coincidence. This is collapsed potential becoming form. And once you experience it, even once, you'll never question your power again. There's another layer to this, and it's just as critical, your body. Your body is the subconscious made visible. If your thoughts are broadcasting one frequency, but your body is holding trauma, fear, or stress, you're sending mixed signals into the field. Which means if you truly want to collapse a new possibility, your body has to feel safe inside that new reality. You must train your body to become familiar with elevated emotions. Gratitude, trust, inspiration, freedom. Not as random peaks, but as daily baselines. That's why self-regulation of breath, posture, and emotion isn't just self-care. It's frequency tuning. So here's the formula: clear intention, elevated emotion, consistent embodiment, energetic congruence. That's how you collapse the possibility you want, instead of reinforcing the one you fear. You're no longer reacting to reality. You're selecting it. And when you operate from that place consistently, you stop waiting for change. You become the change. And reality adjusts accordingly. Now that you know how to collapse a possibility into a tangible result, there's still one missing link to make this transformation whole. You've seen how thoughts and intention shift the field. But how does the body respond? What's happening inside your cells, your chemistry, and your biology when you begin broadcasting a new frequency? You're about to find out. You've now seen how attention collapses potential, how decision forges new timelines, how alignment shapes your energetic signal. But here's where many people unknowingly block their own transformation. They upgrade their thoughts but leave their bodies behind. That creates dissonance, an internal tug-of-war. Your mind may be aiming at expansion, but your biology is still wired for protection, defense, and survival. To move from theory to transformation, your body must get the message. This is not metaphor. This is biophysics. Because your body is not just a vessel, it's a field-sensitive, frequency-responsive intelligence system. Every cell you carry is eavesdropping on your thoughts, reacting to your emotional climate, and adapting to your energetic signals in real time. That's the first truth you need to fully accept. Your body is listening. Always, your thoughts are not confined to your head. They generate electromagnetic patterns that ripple through your nervous system and influence your entire physiology. Every time you think a stressful thought, your brain releases signals that trigger cortisol, adrenaline, and inflammatory responses. Your muscles tense. Your breathing shortens. Your immune system takes a hit. Now flip the pattern. When you think elevated, coherent thoughts, when you feel gratitude, peace, or confidence, your body receives a completely different set of instructions. Oxytocin increases. Dopamine flows. Heart rate synchronizes. Digestion improves. Your immune system strengthens. And most importantly, your cells begin to shift from a defensive posture into a regenerative one. Let's break this down at the cellular level. Cells are not dumb units. They're intelligent receivers. On the surface of every cell are receptors that respond to chemical messengers, yes, but also to electromagnetic signals. This means your thoughts, which produce energy waves, can influence which genes are expressed, how cells function, and how quickly you heal. This is epigenetics in action. You are not at the mercy of your DNA. Your environment, including the internal one you generate through thought and feeling, can turn genes on or off. Your biology is not fixed. It's fluid. And you are the programmer. This flips the script on everything you've been told about health. It means disease isn't just about pathogens and genetics. It's about chronic patterns of stress, incoherence, and energetic distortion. It means healing isn't limited to medicine. It can be initiated by restoring energetic order. And yes, this has been observed. There are documented cases of spontaneous remission, people recovering from conditions considered incurable, where the only major shift was emotional, psychological, or energetic. Skeptics call it luck. But the evidence points to something deeper. The body responds to inner change. Your biology reflects your belief system. If you believe you are under threat, consciously or subconsciously, your body prepares for war. It shifts into sympathetic dominance. Fight, flight, freeze. Blood leaves your core organs. Regeneration shuts down. Energy is diverted to survival. Now think about how many people live in this state constantly. Overthinking, stress, doom scrolling, internal criticism, emotional suppression. They're trapped in a frequency loop that tells the body, don't heal, don't grow, don't relax. Stay alert. Stay tight. Stay afraid. That is not a mindset issue. It's a bioenergetic trap. And breaking that trap starts with one thing: sending the body a new signal. How? Start with breath. Breathing isn't just a physiological function. It's the master key to your nervous system. Long, slow, intentional breathing signals safety. Tells your body you're okay now. You can heal. You can release. You can access higher states of function. Then comes emotion. Emotions are the language your body speaks. Not just in terms of feeling good or bad, but in vibrational terms. Each emotion carries a frequency. Shame is low. Grief is low. Anger begins to rise. Courage, love, gratitude, these are high-frequency states that the body reads as optimal. When you repeatedly generate elevated emotions, your body begins to regulate itself differently. Produces different chemicals. It alters hormone ratios. It creates conditions for recovery and rejuvenation. Not because of wishful thinking, but because of vibrational clarity. Here's the key insight most miss. The body doesn't respond to positive thoughts alone. It responds to felt truth. You can tell yourself, I'm fine all day, but if your gut is tight, your heart is racing, your chest is constricted, your body knows better, and it responds to that. So the work isn't to fake positivity. It's to clear the interference between your mind and your physiology, to train your body to trust the new signal, to feel peace and safety so deeply that it becomes your default state. Because from that place, your body stops being the anchor holding you back, and becomes the amplifier pushing you forward. You've likely heard the phrase, "the body keeps the score." It's true, but the body also updates the score when given new instructions. And this goes beyond healing. This impacts performance, intuition, and energy levels. When your body is in coherence, you make better decisions. You recover faster. You feel more aligned. The field around you strengthens. You stop leaking energy and start projecting it. Let's clarify one last critical point. This isn't about perfection. It's about pattern. No one stays in alignment 100% of the time. But the body doesn't need perfection to respond. It needs consistency, repetition, proof that the old signal is no longer dominant. This is why daily practices matter. Not as rituals for discipline, but as conversations with your body. Every breath is a signal. Every posture is a signal. Every emotion is a signal. The question is, what are you broadcasting? Because when you begin sending your body signals of coherence, when you consistently hold frequencies that align with healing, growth, and trust, it doesn't just listen. It obeys. You've now seen how thought and frequency shape your biology. You've felt the shift in how you relate to your own body, not as a machine, but as an intelligent, responsive partner in transformation. But what's directing those signals behind the scenes? What's managing the energetic flow between mind and body, coordinating the entire system like an invisible operating grid? There is a blueprint, an energetic map that governs your experience from the inside out, and you're about to see it with new eyes. You now understand that your body is not merely responding to chemistry. It's responding to frequency, emotion, belief, and intent. You've seen how cells behave like antennas, constantly receiving signals from your internal environment, whether chaotic or coherent. But beneath all this activity lies something even more foundational. An energetic infrastructure that shapes your physical, emotional, and mental experience before you even notice it. This is your biofield, not a metaphor, not mysticism, a measurable, structured field of electromagnetic and subtle energy surrounding and permeating your body, operating like a control grid for your health, perception, and performance. Western medicine tends to ignore it, but physics, biology, and ancient traditions all point to its existence. From acupuncture meridians and chakras to fascia and the electromagnetic heart field, this hidden system is the interface between your energy and your biology. Think of your biofield as the software to your body's hardware. If your organs are the physical structures, your biofield is the invisible framework giving those structures direction and coherence. When the biofield is balanced and flowing, the body follows. When it's blocked, distorted, or stagnant, the body begins to misfire. Illness, fatigue, and emotional imbalance are often symptoms of biofield disruption, not the root cause. So what makes up the biofield? First, there's your electromagnetic field produced by your brain, heart, and muscles. These fields can be detected with EEGs, EKGs, and other scientific instruments. They pulse with rhythm and vary based on your emotional and mental state. But there's also a more subtle layer, what some researchers refer to as biophotonic or scalar fields. These are less easily measured, but their effects are observable. For example, biophoton emissions, light released by cells, fluctuate based on stress, disease, or intention. Studies show that healers emit measurable light from their hands when focused on sending energy. These aren't beliefs, they're documented events. So what's the blueprint? Your biofield organizes itself into centers, channels, and layers. You don't have to adopt spiritual terminology to recognize the structure. Whether you call them chakras, energy centers, or nodal points, the truth is the same. Energy moves through you in organized patterns. These centers regulate everything from immunity to emotion to creativity. Each center correlates to both glands and psychological functions. For instance, the base center governs survival and physical energy. The solar plexus is tied to willpower and digestion. The heart center manages emotional intelligence and immune response. The throat is linked to communication and thyroid function. The forehead center regulates insight, intuition, and neurological balance. And they're not just symbolic. Biofield mapping using techniques like gas discharge visualization, heart rate variability analysis, and functional MRIs confirms that when these centers are disrupted, measurable dysfunction follows. Now here's where it gets powerful. These centers don't just respond to thoughts. They store energetic memory. That means emotional trauma, prolonged stress, or repressed feelings leave an imprint in your field, sometimes long after the event is forgotten mentally. And unless those distortions are cleared, your biology will continue responding as if the stressor is still present. This is why you can feel off, even when everything seems fine. It's why you can't outthink anxiety if your energy system is still vibrating with a memory of threat. The field remembers, but the field also updates when you work with it directly. That means learning how to scan it, clear it, and reinforce it. You don't need to become an energy healer. You simply need to develop awareness. Here are 3 principles to begin working with your biofield. Presence reveals distortion. When you slow down and tune into your inner landscape, distortions become obvious. You may feel heaviness in a specific part of the body, or notice recurring patterns of tightness, cold, or pressure. These are not random. They're signals. The field is telling you where energy isn't flowing. Breath and attention restore flow. Once you locate energetic tension, applying slow breath and sustained, non-judgmental awareness helps to reorganize the field. Think of it as rehydrating dried soil. You're not fixing, you're creating conditions where the system can rebalance itself. Intention directs energy. Once the field is flowing, clear, coherent intention tells it where to go. This is not wishful thinking. This is frequency alignment. The more emotionally charged your intention, and the more it's supported by breath and posture, the more powerfully your field organizes around it. Now let's explore what happens when you consciously reprogram your biofield. When you shift the field, physical symptoms begin to change. Emotional weight lifts. You begin to attract people and situations that reflect your new vibrational pattern, because your field is your broadcast. It's the signal you send into the quantum matrix, and everything responds accordingly. This is not mystical, it's mechanical. You don't need to believe in it. You just need to use it. Your biofield is also sensitive to external environments. You've probably felt drained around certain people or energized around others. That's not just mood. That's field interaction. When your biofield is strong and coherent, you're less affected by disruptive environments. But when it's weakened, you're more vulnerable to stress, toxicity, and chaos, whether emotional or electromagnetic. Strengthening your field means grounding into your body, maintaining emotional coherence, practicing energetic hygiene, and tuning in daily to see what your body is telling you. There's another layer, collective fields. When you're around a group, at work, in public, in a family system, there's a shared energy field influencing everyone within it. And if your individual biofield isn't stabilized, you'll unconsciously match the dominant frequency. That's how people lose themselves in groupthink, emotional contagion, or inherited patterns. But if your field is stable, you become the tuning fork. You don't get pulled into chaos, you create coherence around you. This is the next level of leadership, healing, and presence. Managing your biofield as your core energetic identity is not about fixing yourself. It's about restoring your original frequency, before stress, trauma, and social programming distorted the signal. And the more aligned your field becomes, the more naturally you begin to express the truth of who you are, without fear, without force, without pretending. You've seen that the mind sends the signal. The body receives it. The biofield interprets and broadcasts it. But what if one of the most overlooked elements in that process was also the most powerful amplifier? What if your emotions weren't just reactions, but vibrational instructions? That's what we're unlocking next. You've now seen how your biofield isn't passive. It's a dynamic, intelligent grid directing energy, health, and behavior. You've learned how breath, intention, and awareness interact with that field. But what powers this entire system? What tells the quantum field what to do, how to form, and where to flow? Emotion. Not in the way you've been taught. Emotions are not weaknesses to suppress or distractions to manage. They are frequencies, command codes, vibrational signals that shape your energetic output far more powerfully than thought alone ever could. This is where most people get it wrong. They try to think their way into success, healing, or happiness. But their emotional state contradicts their mental focus. They affirm abundance while feeling scarcity. They visualize love while feeling unworthy. They set goals while feeling fear. And so, they send conflicting instructions into the field. And the field obeys the dominant signal, always. Emotion is the amplifier. It's the fuel. It's the vibration that turns thought into structure. And the more coherent the emotion, the more aligned it is with your desired frequency, the stronger the energetic broadcast becomes. Let's get specific. Every emotion has a frequency range. This is not theory, it's measurable. Lower emotions like shame, guilt, and apathy produce erratic, weak electromagnetic signals. They literally disrupt the coherence of your heart rhythm and reduce the integrity of your field. On the other hand, elevated emotions, gratitude, joy, appreciation, love, generate high-frequency, smooth, harmonious waves. These waves create coherence between the brain and the heart. And when the brain and heart are coherent, your entire energetic system enters resonance. That resonance is what the quantum field responds to. It's what determines how quickly, clearly, and consistently possibilities collapse into reality. But here's the key. You can't fake emotion. Saying, "I feel grateful" doesn't work unless your body believes it. And your body knows the truth. You've already learned that your cells respond to emotion. They release hormones, change electrical charge, and even adjust gene expression based on how you feel, not just what you think. So the real work isn't thinking better, it's feeling better on purpose. And that doesn't mean pretending to be happy when you're not. That's bypassing, and it weakens the field. It means choosing to generate a new emotional signature from within, deliberately, consistently, even in the absence of external evidence. Because here's the breakthrough. Emotion doesn't have to be reactive. It can be generative. You can train your body to feel gratitude before the thing arrives. You can teach your nervous system to live in trust even when the outcome is invisible. And when you do, you begin to collapse that outcome into reality faster, because you're finally broadcasting a matching signal. This is the secret behind so-called miracles. People who experience spontaneous healing, quantum leaps in success, or sudden relationship shifts often say the same thing. They felt it before it happened. They accessed the elevated emotion of the outcome before it became physical. And that emotional frequency acted like a magnet, drawing the result into their timeline. So let's talk about how to do this deliberately. Start with emotional awareness. Most people have a handful of emotions they cycle through daily, usually based on old conditioning. They wait for something external to give them a reason to feel differently. That puts them in a state of energetic dependence. You break that cycle by choosing your emotional state at the start of each day, not as a reaction but as a declaration. You become the emotional architect of your field. This can be trained. Practice generating emotions like gratitude, compassion, inspiration, and joy in stillness. Don't wait for something to trigger it. Feel it because you can. Feel it because every cell in your body begins to organize around that frequency. Feel it because the field responds. Then, associate those emotions with specific intentions. Link the feeling of appreciation to the version of you who has already succeeded. Link the feeling of love to the version of you in healthy, expansive relationships. Link the feeling of empowerment to the version of you aligned with purpose. This creates an emotional blueprint that your field begins to replicate. Now, it's not enough to just feel good for 5 minutes and then spend the rest of the day in anxiety. The dominant frequency wins. So your goal is to shift your emotional baseline. Start asking, what emotion is shaping my reality right now? Is it contraction or expansion? Is it trust or control? Is it resistance or allowance? The field doesn't respond to your story. It responds to your signal. If your emotional baseline is worry, you'll unconsciously attract scenarios that justify it. If your emotional baseline is safety, synchronicity increases. The outer world starts to mirror your inner state. This brings us to emotional coherence. Coherence isn't just about calm. It's about alignment. When your thoughts, emotions, and body all reflect the same message, your signal becomes crystal clear. That's when change happens rapidly. The HeartMath Institute has shown that when people enter heart-brain coherence, meaning their emotional and cognitive rhythms synchronize, they not only feel better but also think more clearly, recover faster from illness, and affect people around them at a measurable energetic level. You've felt this before. A person walks into the room, and without saying a word, you feel their energy. Some people bring warmth. Others drain. That's emotional frequency made visible. Now imagine intentionally walking through life broadcasting peace, strength, and confidence. Not because of external results, but as a default energetic state. That's power. And when setbacks happen, as they will, coherence allows you to respond, not react. Because you're not operating from survival emotion anymore. You're tuned to creation emotion. Your field doesn't collapse under pressure, it stabilizes it. Let's be clear about one more thing. This is not emotional repression. This is emotional mastery. You're not avoiding sadness, fear, or anger. You're honoring them, feeling them fully, and then choosing not to let them define your frequency. Because in the quantum model, how long you stay in a state matters more than whether you enter it. You're not punished for feeling low, but you won't shift reality until you return to coherence. That's the real discipline, the real upgrade. So ask yourself, what emotion are you addicted to? What emotion do you default to under stress? And what emotion would you need to embody daily to become the version of you who already lives your vision? You now know that your emotions are not accidents. They are instructions. And when those instructions are coherent, consistent, and charged with intent, the quantum field organizes around you like a loyal mirror. Next, we'll explore something astonishing. You've seen how emotion shapes energy. Now, you're about to discover the most baffling proof that your beliefs, expectations, and emotional states can override physical reality itself. Even to the point of healing disease. Get ready to walk into the matrix. You now understand that emotions are not side effects, they are instructions. They shape the frequency you broadcast into the quantum field. And the clearer, more coherent those emotional signals become, the more dramatically your life begins to change. But what if the most stunning evidence for this truth didn't come from quantum theory or spiritual teachings, but from clinical science? From hospitals, from double-blind trials, from documented recoveries that logic alone cannot explain. This is the world of the placebo effect. And once you grasp what it actually means, you'll never doubt the power of belief again. Let's start with a fact that traditional medicine often tries to minimize. People heal, recover, or dramatically improve simply because they believe they're receiving effective treatment, even when what they're given is inert. A sugar pill, a saline injection, a fake surgery. Yet measurable healing occurs. Pain disappears, tumors shrink, depression lifts, inflammation reduces, recovery accelerates, all without active drugs. But how? It's not the placebo that creates change. It's the body's response to belief. The internal shift from expectation, the emotional resonance of trust, hope, and certainty. That's what activates healing. Now think about that. If belief in something fake can create real, measurable change, what could belief in something real, powerful, and coherent do? That's the untapped potential sitting inside every person, often dormant because they've outsourced their power to pills, systems, and experts. Let's go deeper. Studies have shown that patients who receive placebo treatments experience the same biochemical shifts as those receiving real medication. Endorphins rise, neural pathways activate, immune markers change. The body isn't faking anything. It's producing a healing response because it has been given new instructions through belief. And belief isn't abstract. It has physical consequences. This brings us back to the quantum model. Belief is not just a thought. It's an energetic pattern made of expectation, emotion, and focus. When you believe something deeply, your entire system begins to align with that reality. Your brain releases neurochemicals that support the belief. Your heart generates a field of coherence. Your cells adjust their function to match the emotional command. And the field around you begins responding accordingly. That's not theory. That's biology aligned with energy. But the placebo effect doesn't stop with healing. It affects performance, perception, and behavior. In one study, athletes told they had taken a performance-enhancing drug improved their output, even though they'd taken nothing. Their bodies adapted based on the belief that they were stronger. Muscles fired differently. Fatigue thresholds changed. In another study, people who believed they were eating healthy, even when they weren't, experienced weight loss and better metabolism. Why? Because the body responded to the signal of belief more than the chemical content. This is the matrix, a layer of reality where expectation rewires physiology, where thought creates biochemistry, where the line between external and internal blurs completely. So here's the real question. If belief can heal disease, enhance performance, and change outcomes, why do so few people use it consciously? Because they've been trained not to. They've been taught that power lives outside them, in medication, diagnosis, and systems. They've been told that belief is secondary to facts, that outcomes depend on effort, not energy, that biology is destiny. But your body doesn't know that narrative. Your cells are responding to frequency, not opinions. And the most powerful frequency you can emit is certainty. Certainty is the emotional state that collapses possibility into form. It's not arrogance. It's not stubbornness. It's alignment. When you know something is true, when that knowing lives in your nervous system, not just your thoughts, the field obeys. Healing accelerates. Creativity unlocks. Life begins to bend toward your intention. But let's be honest. Reaching that level of certainty doesn't happen by faking it. You don't just act confident and expect results. You build certainty by embodying alignment again and again until it becomes your natural frequency. And here's where the placebo matrix becomes personal. Every belief you carry about yourself, your health, your worth, and your future is a placebo or a nocebo. A placebo strengthens. A nocebo weakens. If you believe you're aging quickly, your body will comply. If you believe you're destined to struggle financially, you'll collapse the timelines that match. If you believe you're unworthy of love, your relationships will mirror that signal. This is not punishment. It's pattern. You're not being judged. You're being reflected. And reflection is neutral. It simply responds to input. So ask yourself, what beliefs are shaping my biology? My field? My results? Are they inherited? Are they reactive? Are they even true? Because here's the next layer of mastery. Replacing old beliefs with conscious ones and embodying them until the body no longer doubts. You don't do this with logic alone. You do it through experience. Every time you practice gratitude instead of stress, you show your body a new possibility. Every time you hold emotional coherence instead of panic, you rewire the system. Every time you stay in alignment when evidence hasn't yet arrived, you strengthen the field. That's how belief becomes biology. And yes, it works in reverse too. The nocebo effect is just as real and just as powerful. When patients believe they're going to get sicker, they often do. When they expect pain, it increases. When they anticipate failure, their bodies tighten, cortisol rises, and resilience drops. This is not just mindset. It's physics. It's chemistry. It's structure. Your body is a mirror, flawless and immediate. And the beliefs you feed it are the blueprints it uses to shape your experience. So here's the truth that changes everything. You are already using the placebo effect. Right now. Every day. The only question is, what are you placing your faith in? Fear or expansion? Limitation or possibility? Chaos or order? The body listens. The field responds. Reality follows. You no longer need external permission to heal, grow, or succeed. You don't need guarantees or evidence before you change your frequency. You don't even need to be 100% certain at first. You just need to stop energizing the patterns that contradict your desired outcome. Belief doesn't make you delusional. Belief makes you magnetic. And once you understand that the placebo isn't about deception, it's about direction, you gain access to a deeper layer of influence than most ever discover. Now that you've seen how belief rewires the body, influences chemistry, and activates quantum pathways, it's time to take the next step. You've been broadcasting into the field. But what happens when the field starts to talk back? Next, we'll explore the phenomenon that ties it all together, the feedback loop that connects you to the fabric of reality itself. By now, you've discovered the astonishing influence of belief on your biology. You've seen how emotion becomes instruction, how thought, energy, and vibration become the code that shapes your health, your performance, and your environment. But if you're truly engaging with the quantum model of transformation, there's a truth you can no longer ignore. The field isn't just receiving your signal, it's responding. And that response isn't abstract, delayed, or metaphorical. It's specific, real, constant. You are in a live feedback loop with the very fabric of reality. Your inner state is echoed back to you in the form of people, patterns, synchronicities, obstacles, and opportunities. The life you're living right now isn't a random sequence of events. It's a reflection of the frequency you're carrying. This is the quantum feedback loop. Most people think of life in linear terms. Act, wait, see results. But this model is mechanical, not energetic. In the quantum model, the loop is immediate. Reality adjusts in real time based on the energetic signal you send. The more stable your frequency, the clearer the feedback. The more chaotic your frequency, the more scrambled the reflection. Here's the key realization. Your results are not lagging behind your effort. They're mirroring your current state. When you understand that, you stop chasing outcomes and start listening to the loop. Let's break this down. Every thought you think carries frequency. Every emotion you feel carries amplitude. Every intention you hold sustains that signal or disrupts it. The field receives this information and begins to rearrange probabilities to match it. The result? A constant, silent flow of messages returning to you in symbolic and tangible forms. These messages are not coincidence. They are coherence. You get stuck in traffic after a morning of internal frustration. You misplace things on a day filled with self-judgment. A stranger offers help during a moment of true presence. A message arrives exactly when you're fully aligned. This is not superstition. This is structure. Your reality is a living, breathing reflection of your field's dominant patterns. And it becomes your greatest teacher when you pay attention. So how do you use the feedback loop intentionally? Start with awareness. Your external world is diagnostic. When things feel out of sync, it's not just about changing behavior. It's about asking, what signal am I sending? Instead of blaming circumstances, become curious. Instead of pushing harder, ask what your state is amplifying. The universe isn't punishing you, it's responding to you. The delay between cause and effect has shrunk. Next, look for recurring patterns. Do certain types of conflict keep showing up? Do you find yourself repeating emotional loops with different people? That's the field saying, this pattern still exists in your vibration. You're not cursed. You're consistent. And once you recognize that feedback, you gain the power to shift it. But here's the secret. You don't fix the pattern by rearranging your environment. You fix it by reorganizing your field. That means changing your thoughts, yes, but more than that, it means shifting your default emotional state, updating your inner narratives, and stabilizing your energy through deliberate action. When you do that, reality recalibrates. Let's talk about synchronicity. Synchronicities, those meaningful coincidences that feel too precise to be random, are not anomalies. They are evidence of the loop functioning in real time. When you enter coherence, when your heart and mind are aligned, when your actions reflect your highest self, the field becomes more orderly. And that order is reflected as synchronicity. You think of someone and they call. You wonder about a solution, and it arrives through a stranger's comment. You take a leap, and support shows up the next day. This is not fantasy. This is the quantum field realigning around your upgraded signal. And once you begin noticing it, you enter a new level of trust. Not passive waiting, but engaged awareness. You begin to see reality not as a fixed backdrop, but as a dynamic mirror, constantly updating based on your signal. Here's where most people struggle. They don't stay in alignment long enough to see the reflection shift. They start a new habit. They try a new mindset. They visualize a new future. But when the old reality echoes back, they panic. They think nothing's working. They revert. And the field reflects that shift. Your job isn't to manipulate the loop. Your job is to stabilize the signal. Because here's what's often misunderstood. The field doesn't reward intensity. It rewards consistency. That means the most potent feedback comes not from occasional bursts of clarity, but from sustained coherence, holding your inner frequency long enough for reality to catch up. And it will, because once you hold a signal long enough, the loop has no choice but to reflect it. Not because the field is obedient, but because it's responsive. You're not convincing the universe. You're instructing it. Let's also talk about resistance in the loop. Sometimes the feedback doesn't look like progress. Sometimes when you shift your energy, what comes back is friction, pain, sudden disruption. Don't mistake that for failure. That feedback is often the field clearing out what no longer aligns with your new signal. Old timelines collapsing, old patterns surfacing. Feels like chaos, but it's actually proof that the loop is working faster now. When your signal gets stronger, misaligned pieces fall away faster. So if you've committed to healing, and suddenly old emotions rise, thank the field. If you've chosen a new path and certain people exit your life, honor the feedback. It means you're no longer a match for what once kept you stuck. This is energetic intelligence. It's not always comfortable, but it's always clarifying. Your job is not to interpret every event. It's to refine the signal. Trust the reflection. Adjust accordingly. So ask yourself, what is my reality showing me right now? What emotional state is it mirroring? What shift do I need to make, not out there but in here, to change the loop? Because once you stop reacting and start responding to the feedback with awareness and clarity, the loop becomes a tool, not a trap. You no longer see circumstances as fate. You see them as data. And in that awareness, you find freedom. You've now seen that reality is not a silent witness. It's a dynamic conversation. The quantum field listens to your frequency and responds with structure. That response arrives as your health, your relationships, your opportunities, your breakdowns, and your breakthroughs. This loop is always active. The question is, are you using it with intention? Or are you unconsciously reacting to its signals? Now that you understand the conversation, you're ready for the next phase. It's time to go from interpreting feedback to rewriting the code that creates it. Up next, how to reprogram your energetic signature and install a new vibrational identity that reshapes your entire life experience. You've come this far knowing your thoughts shape vibration, your emotions amplify it, and your biofield broadcasts it. You've seen how the quantum field listens and how it responds. But here's where transformation takes on a new level of precision. It's time to rewrite the signal you've been sending. This is not self-improvement in the traditional sense. This isn't about forcing yourself to change habits, repeating mantras, or pushing harder. You're not polishing the old version of yourself. You're replacing the entire energetic blueprint that governs how reality responds to you. That blueprint is your energetic signature, and every human being carries one. An invisible yet powerful combination of thought patterns, emotional frequency, belief structures, nervous system tone, and behavioral tendencies. Together, these elements form the dominant signal you emit, day in and day out. This signal is not just about mood or mindset. It's your quantum identity. It's what determines what kind of opportunities show up or don't, what relationships feel natural or chaotic, what health state your body defaults to, what level of abundance you're magnetically tuned to. And most people never change theirs because they're too busy reacting to the feedback loop without realizing they can shift the signal that creates it. So the question becomes, how do you consciously reprogram this signature? It begins with something most people overlook: recognizing your current energetic identity. This is the self you've been broadcasting for years, shaped by childhood conditioning, trauma, repetition, survival instincts, and internalized limitations. It shows up in statements like, "This always happens to me. I'm not good with money. I attract the wrong people. I have anxiety. I'm just wired this way." None of those statements are facts. They're frequencies, self-fulfilling vibrational declarations that loop back into your life again and again. The first step in reprogramming your signature is not to shame yourself, but to observe the patterns you've been running. Notice your default thoughts under stress, your body language when things don't go your way, the tone of your inner voice when no one is listening. These subtle patterns are constantly feeding instructions into the quantum field. Until they're changed, your outcomes won't be. But once observed clearly, they lose power. Because you can't change what you won't acknowledge. Now comes the real shift. Installing a new energetic identity. Start by getting radically specific. What version of you already lives the outcomes you desire? What does their frequency feel like? What do they believe is normal? How do they walk, speak, act, and breathe not once but daily? You are not fabricating this version. You're tuning into a real, available quantum possibility. This is not imagination. It's alignment. Once you've identified this upgraded frequency, you begin practicing it. Not as performance, but as a new default. You interrupt old loops, not with willpower, but with new emotional states and behaviors that align with your future, not your past. For example, instead of, "I'm always overwhelmed," the new signal might be, "I operate with clarity and trust." Instead of, "I'll never be healthy," it becomes, "My body is intelligent and responsive." Instead of, "Success takes struggle," you upgrade to, "I allow aligned action to create flow." But again, these aren't affirmations. They must be felt. The body must believe them. The field must receive them. The feedback loop must reflect them. This means pairing new mental beliefs with emotional coherence, breathwork, posture, and focused presence. Every time you embody this new identity, even for a few minutes, you strengthen the signal. You rewrite the biofield. You build energetic evidence. And over time, the version of you that once felt like a stretch becomes the version of you that feels like home. Here's the critical distinction. You're not waiting for reality to confirm your new identity. You're embodying it until reality has no choice but to reflect it. This is where most people stumble. They look for proof too early. They try the practice for a week, don't see external change, and revert to the old signature. But remember, the field responds to consistency, not intensity. Stability of signal is what collapses new timelines. Your role is to become the signal you want to live inside, regardless of what the outside world says right now. Now let's address resistance. Reprogramming your energetic signature will surface opposition. From your own nervous system, from your subconscious, from your environment. Why? Because the old version of you is wired for survival. These patterns, no matter how limiting, feel familiar, safe, predictable. The moment you begin shifting frequency, the system throws up resistance, not to sabotage you, but to keep you in known territory. You'll feel it as doubt, fatigue, forgetfulness, or external distraction. This is when you must stay the course. When resistance shows up, treat it as evidence that the old program is destabilizing, that you're nearing breakthrough. Don't fight it. Observe it, breathe through it, recommit to the new signal. Eventually, your system adapts. The new pattern stabilizes, the resistance fades, and the feedback loop begins to reflect the new identity. Faster, clearer, more directly than ever before. Let's also be clear. This work is not about becoming someone else. It's about shedding everything you never were. Limiting beliefs, inherited fears, energetic debt from trauma, culture, and conditioning. Reprogramming your signature is not about layering on a new persona. It's about revealing the aligned, coherent self that's always been waiting behind the static. That self doesn't need constant effort to maintain. Once the frequency is embodied, it becomes natural, effortless, magnetic, because energy leads, matter follows. So ask yourself, what frequency am I still broadcasting from the past? What signal would align with my highest self? And what am I willing to feel, believe, and embody until that signal becomes permanent? This is no longer about fixing your life. It's about tuning your instrument so reality responds with harmony. You've now understood how to reprogram your identity at the vibrational level. You've taken conscious control of your energetic output, and you've stepped into the role of signal creator, not signal follower. But to take this to the next level, you must go inward in a way most never do. Because there's one tool that gives you direct access to the quantum realm, beyond words, beyond thoughts. Beyond time is not meditation as you've known it. It's a gateway to dimensional shift. Let's explore what happens when your mind stops thinking and starts tuning. You've reprogrammed your energetic signature. You've seen that belief isn't abstract. It's a signal. You've learned how the quantum field mirrors your dominant frequency. But now you're about to access the control panel behind all of it. Not just to observe your patterns, but to enter the operating space where those patterns are rewritten in real time. This isn't about relaxation. This isn't about quiet time or stress relief. This is meditation redefined as quantum interface. When most people think of meditation, they imagine sitting still, breathing slowly, maybe repeating a mantra. That's a start. But in the context of quantum transformation, meditation is far more than a calming ritual. It is the portal through which you bypass the linear mind and access the field that shapes everything. You're not calming your mind. You're shifting your brainwave frequency. You're altering your electromagnetic field. You're stepping out of ordinary time and entering a space where identity, belief, memory, and possibility exist simultaneously. Let's be precise. In your normal waking state, your brain operates in beta waves. Fast, sharp, logical, analytical. This is useful for problem-solving and linear thinking. But it's terrible for transformation. Why? Because beta locks you into the known, the past, compares, judges, anticipates. And it does all of this based on what has been true. To enter the quantum field, the space of pure possibility, you must move out of beta and into alpha, theta, and eventually gamma frequencies. These are not just abstract concepts. They are measurable shifts in electrical activity in your brain. And when you learn to enter them deliberately, you gain access to the source code of your reality. Alpha is the gateway. It emerges when you close your eyes, relax your body, and begin to focus inward. In alpha, your senses withdraw from the external world, and your inner world becomes more vivid. Thoughts slow. Awareness expands. From here, you transition into theta, the realm of subconscious reprogramming. Theta is where memory, emotion, trauma, and deep belief live. When your brain enters this state, the critical gatekeeper of the mind, the part that resists new ideas, relaxes. This is where the imprinting begins. This is where you begin to install the upgraded version of yourself. But it doesn't stop there. In rare but powerful moments, when coherence peaks and emotional energy surges, your brain can enter gamma, an extremely high-frequency state associated with unity, healing, spontaneous insight, and deep compassion. In gamma, the mind and body synchronize in such a way that people report experiences of timelessness, non-local awareness, and spontaneous transformation. This is where the field opens fully. This is where the shift from visualization to actualization happens. Let's be clear, you don't need years of training to access this. What you need is consistency, focus, and the understanding that you're not trying to empty your mind, you're training it to tune into a new frequency. So what does this actually look like? You begin by sitting still, not just physically but energetically. Stillness tells the body, we are not surviving, we are creating. It breaks the addiction to constant movement and reaction. Next, you guide your breath, not as a technique but as a signal. Each inhale expands awareness. Each exhale grounds intention. Breath is the bridge between body and field. And when slowed and focused, it shifts your nervous system into coherence. Now comes the tuning. You bring your attention to elevated emotional states, not memories of them, but the raw feeling of them. Gratitude, love, joy, freedom, not because you've earned them, but because you choose them. As you do this, your heart begins to beat in rhythm with your breath. Your electromagnetic field expands. Your brain begins to entrain to alpha and theta. The wall between thought and field dissolves. At this point, your body becomes less dense. You stop being a someone somewhere in time. You become no one nowhere in no time. And from that place, creation begins. Now, you hold an intention not from desperation, not from lack, but from completeness. You see the outcome you desire. You feel the identity that would create it. You know that it already exists in the quantum field. This isn't visualization as fantasy. This is frequency selection. The field doesn't respond to pictures. It responds to coherence. If your thoughts, feelings, and physiology align with the intention, you begin to collapse it into probability. And once your brain and body begin to believe that this new reality is already happening, your nervous system reorganizes. Your cells begin updating, and the field starts to reflect it. This is not about time. It's about alignment. You may not see the result immediately, but you will feel the shift. You will know something is different. And if you return to this process often enough, the new identity stabilizes. The signal becomes dominant. The feedback loop responds accordingly. Let's break one myth. You do not need to meditate for hours. You need to meditate intelligently. It's not about duration. It's about emotional intensity, coherence, and repetition. A deeply coherent 20-minute meditation can alter your entire energetic state for the rest of the day, if done with intention and presence. So what's the goal? Not escape, not spiritual entertainment. The goal is energetic entrainment. To train your body, mind, and feel to operate from the frequency of your future, not the memory of your past. Each time you meditate this way, you create new neural networks. You teach your body to live in a new emotional baseline. You move out of reaction and into creation. Eventually, you stop needing external proof. You become the proof. Your reality begins to reflect your inner state with increasing speed. Synchronicities increase. The right people appear. The right ideas surface. And the gap between who you are and who you're becoming disappears. Because in the quantum field, there is no gap. Only signal and response. So ask yourself, are you using your mind to revisit the known, or to enter the field of the new? Are you reinforcing the past, or rehearsing the future? You now have the gateway, the tool that links thought, feeling, biology, and field into one synchronized act of creation. But there's more, because when you begin to use meditation to shift your state, another question emerges. How do you sustain it throughout the day? And that brings us to the science of brainwaves, and how to train your consciousness to remain in the transformation zone, even when you're not meditating. Next, we're unlocking the method behind mental mastery. You've stepped into a new understanding of meditation, not as a practice for stress relief, but as a precision tool for entering the field of pure potential. You've felt how your inner state can be recalibrated to match the identity of your desired future. Now it's time to extend that transformation. Because it's one thing to tune your energy in meditation. It's another to stay tuned as you walk through the rest of your life. That's where brainwave alchemy begins. Think of your brain not as an organ, but as an instrument, emitting electrical rhythms that correspond directly to your thoughts, emotions, level of consciousness, and energetic state. These rhythms are called brainwaves, and they tell a story about how awake, reactive, intuitive, or receptive you are at any given moment. And here's the truth. If you don't consciously manage that story, you'll live on autopilot, cycling through emotional patterns, reactive behaviors, and thought loops, not because you're broken, but because your brain is stuck broadcasting on one narrow frequency. There are 5 primary types of brainwaves, each with its own purpose and power. Let's explore them not as abstract concepts, but as the tools they truly are. 1. Beta 13 to 30 Hz, the survival frequency. This is your default waking state. High focus, problem solving, analysis, but also stress. When your brain is locked in high beta, it's preparing to survive, not create. This is the state you're in when you're multitasking, scanning for danger, or trying to control everything. It's useful, but overexposure keeps your nervous system locked in fight or flight. The key isn't to eliminate beta, it's to stop living in it. 2. Alpha 8 to 12 Hz, the gateway frequency. This is where relaxation begins. Daydreaming, visualization, imagination. In alpha, you become more suggestible, not in a weak way, but in a receptive way. It's the bridge between the external and internal worlds. When you're driving peacefully, walking in nature, or gently focusing inward, you're often in alpha. This is where conscious reprogramming begins. Alpha is where you loosen your grip on the known and begin to interface with the quantum field. 3. Theta 4 to 7 Hz, the reprogramming frequency. Theta is the language of the subconscious. Deep meditation, emotional access, intuition, memory integration. When you're in theta, you're open to rewriting old patterns. In early childhood, this was your dominant state, which is why belief systems absorbed at that age run so deep. Now, as an adult, accessing theta consciously allows you to unlearn the limits that were installed without your permission. 4. Delta 0.5 to 4 Hz, the regeneration frequency. Delta is where healing happens. Deep, dreamless sleep, cellular repair, immune function. In delta, the thinking mind is offline, and the body enters full restoration. Most people never access conscious delta, yet many of the body's deepest transformations occur here. This is why sleep is sacred and why a dysregulated brainwave profile often results in illness, fatigue, or burnout. 5. Gamma 3100 plus Hz, the integration frequency. Gamma is rare, but it's extraordinary. It appears in moments of intense coherence, heightened perception, and full body presence. During mystical states, spontaneous healings, or flow moments where everything clicks, gamma spikes. It's associated with compassion, unity, and even non-local consciousness. Now here's the question. Can you train your brain to shift between these frequencies deliberately? Yes, and that's brainwave alchemy. You've already done it unconsciously. Every time you relax into alpha, reflect in theta, or reboot in delta during sleep, you're shifting your state. But doing it consciously is a game changer. Because now, you're not a passenger of your mind, you're the tuner of your frequency. So how do you train this? 1. Stillness practice. The more time you spend in silence, stillness, and focused breath, the easier it becomes to lower your brainwave activity. Meditation isn't just a tool. It's your training ground. Use it to transition from high beta into alpha and theta. With repetition, your brain adapts. The shift becomes easier. Your baseline begins to change. 2. Coherent breathing. Breath patterns directly affect brainwaves. Slow, even breathing, especially inhaling and exhaling for the same count, synchronizes the heart and brain. This coherence shifts you out of stress states and into frequencies that allow intuition, presence, and emotional balance to emerge. 3. Rhythmic patterns. Repetition, whether through sound, movement, or mantra, entrains your brain to new frequencies. Binaural beats, sound therapy, or even slow drumming can help nudge your brain into theta. Don't treat these tools as background noise. Use them intentionally and feel how your consciousness responds. 4. Elevated emotion. Gamma spikes occur most often during moments of intense, heartfelt emotion, especially gratitude, compassion, or awe. You don't chase gamma. You invite it through presence, through emotion, through full-body alignment. When your brain and heart reach deep coherence, gamma emerges as a natural result. Now, let's apply this knowledge to real transformation. Say you want to reprogram a belief, I am not worthy of success. In high beta, that belief resists change. The conscious mind analyzes, criticizes, and clings to survival patterns. But in alpha, you can observe the belief. In theta, you can feel where it lives in the body. In that state, you introduce a new emotional truth. I am already enough. You don't just say it. You feel it. You visualize it. You rehearse it emotionally until your body and brain begin to accept it as real. Do this daily and the pattern changes. Do it consistently and the pattern disappears. Now imagine applying this same method to confidence, health, creativity, or love. You're not forcing yourself to be different. You're entering the frequency where that version of you already exists. That's the alchemy. And here's something profound. The more you train this, the more your waking state changes. You begin to carry alpha calm into your busy day. You access theta clarity in conversations. You start creating from elevated gamma-inspired bursts, not reacting from low beta panic. You don't need to escape your life to feel aligned. You tune yourself to alignment and bring that into every moment. So ask yourself, what frequency have I been living in? Is my mind mostly in survival beta or creation alpha and theta? What practices can I commit to that shift my default brainwave profile? Because the truth is, You're never stuck. You're just tuned to a version of yourself that no longer serves who you're becoming. And now you have the tools to tune to a new one. You've learned how to harness your brain as a frequency generator. You've unlocked how emotion, breath, and presence shape your inner field. But now we turn to something even more fundamental, something so basic, so constant, most people never think of it as a tool for transformation. You do it 20,000 times a day. And when you do it consciously, it becomes the fastest way to shift your energetic state in the moment. Next, how to breathe with the field itself. You've trained your brain to shift frequencies. You've learned how consciousness becomes creation, and how each emotional signature translates directly into energetic instruction. But now, we're unlocking the most immediate, accessible, and underestimated key to transformation. It's not your thoughts. It's not your mindset. It's your breath. Not just as oxygen. Not just for staying alive, but as an active technology, one that connects you to the field, regulates your frequency, and reshapes your inner world in seconds. You take 20,000 breaths per day, but how many of those are conscious? How many are aligned with the energetic state you want to live in? Most people never ask that question because they've never been told the truth, that your breath isn't just a function of survival. It's a lever of creation. Let's start with the biology. Your breath controls your nervous system. Inhale and you activate the sympathetic branch, alertness, energy, focus. Exhale and you activate the parasympathetic branch, relaxation, digestion, regeneration. The way you breathe determines whether your body is preparing for a threat or allowing expansion. But now let's step deeper. Each breath creates a measurable electromagnetic pulse around your heart and brain. These pulses ripple through your biofield, informing the field around you of your current state. Incoherent breath creates incoherent energy. Coherent breath creates a stable, clear signal, one the quantum field can respond to with precision. So when your breath is shallow, fast, and erratic, your field is chaotic. The signal you emit is weak, fragmented, and reactive. But when your breath is full, slow, rhythmic, and intentional, your field becomes ordered. It amplifies your intention. It sustains your emotional frequency. It synchronizes your body and mind into a unified pattern. That's when things begin to move. Let's make this practical. Coherent breathing, often practiced as 6 seconds in, 6 seconds out, is one of the fastest ways to shift your state. Not just because it calms you, but because it brings your nervous system, brainwaves, and heart rhythms into alignment. When done with focus, this pattern does more than just regulate your body, it tunes your entire energetic field. This is how breath becomes a tuning mechanism. One that signals to the field, I am safe, I am present, I am open to create. Now, why is that signal so important? Because without it, even your clearest intention gets distorted. When your body is bracing, rushing, or disconnected from breath, you send a message of urgency, scarcity, or survival. But when your breath is smooth, slow, and intentional, you emit presence. And the quantum field responds not to your words, but to your state. That's why breath is not just a preparation for meditation. It is the meditation. It is the link between the invisible and the physical, between vibration and embodiment. Let's go further. Breath not only tunes your nervous system and biofield, it influences your brain directly. Breathing through the nose, for example, activates parts of the brain responsible for memory and emotional regulation. Slowing your breath shifts your brain from high beta into alpha and theta. It unlocks creativity, intuition, and the ability to access nonlinear awareness. That means you can change your entire perception of reality, using nothing but conscious breath. And when you combine breath with emotion, intention, and stillness, you're not just calming yourself. You're interfacing with the quantum field in real time. Each breath becomes a code. Each inhale brings in potential. Each exhale becomes release, transmission, transformation. You begin to feel something extraordinary. The boundary between your body and the field begins to blur. Your awareness expands. Your sense of space and time shifts. You move from identity to energy. From I am this body to I am this frequency. And you'll notice something remarkable. Your body begins to feel light. Your heart begins to radiate. Your mind becomes quiet not from force but from alignment. This is the state where transformation accelerates. Not because of breath alone, but because breath becomes the carrier of coherence. You can take this further with specific breathwork patterns, techniques that have been used for thousands of years to elevate consciousness, unlock emotion, and activate dormant energetic systems. For example, box breathing, inhale, hold, exhale, hold, in equal ratios, builds emotional control and presence. For 7-8 breathing is powerful for calming anxiety and shifting into parasympathetic dominance. Wim Hof-style breathing floods the system with oxygen and temporarily changes pH, creating altered states of consciousness. Holotropic breathing can induce deep emotional release and access to subconscious material. Each of these techniques changes your chemistry, but more importantly, each changes your signal. And once your signal shifts, reality doesn't stay the same. People who engage in daily breathwork often describe a new relationship with their environment. Increased synchronicities, clearer decision-making, a sense that life is flowing, not forcing. That's not mystical. That's frequency matching. Now here's a subtle truth. The power of breath is not just in the technique. It's in the awareness behind it. Even a single conscious breath, taken with full presence, intention, and trust, can shift your vibration faster than hours of thinking or self-analysis. Because the breath brings you into the now. And only in the now do you connect directly with the field. So what's the invitation? To stop breathing unconsciously. To stop using breath as a background function. And instead, to claim it as your most immediate tool for quantum recalibration. Every moment you're alive, breath is available. That means transformation is available. No external tools. No waiting. Just a return to awareness. Your energy is constantly seeking coherence. Your body is listening. The field is listening. And your breath is the messenger. So ask yourself, how have I been breathing fast, shallow, reactive? What emotional frequency has my breath been reinforcing? And what would change if I used breath to stabilize the identity I'm now choosing to become? Because the truth is this, when you breathe with the field, you become one with it. You no longer chase alignment. You are alignment, and from that place your reality begins to shift, without effort, without force, without delay. Next, we'll explore how to enhance this shift with another layer of energy intelligence, through the vibrational tools that have been used across cultures and eras to heal, focus, and synchronize the body and field. You've felt the power of breath. Now feel the resonance of sound. You've breathed with presence. You've tuned your mind and body through intentional rhythm. You now understand how something as basic and constant as breath can shape your entire energetic field. But breath isn't the only frequency tool available to you. There's another force, one you've experienced your entire life, working in every environment, affecting every cell, and penetrating every layer of your being. Sound. Not just music, not just noise. Sound is vibration. And vibration is structure. Everything in the universe vibrates. Every organ in your body, every thought you hold, every emotion you feel, they all resonate at specific frequencies. And sound is the one language that communicates with all of them. This is not a metaphor. This is physics. Sound moves through your body 4 times faster than it moves through air. That means your bones, your cells, your tissues, they're not just hearing sound. They're absorbing it, responding to it, shaping themselves around it. And here's the truth. Your body doesn't just respond to sound. It organizes around it. That organization is called resonance. When a system is exposed to a frequency that matches its natural vibration, it begins to resonate, vibrate more strongly, more coherently. This is how tuning forks work. This is how opera singers can shatter glass. And it's how specific sound frequencies can restore harmony in the human body. Because illness, fatigue, and emotional dysregulation are not just problems, they are disruptions in vibrational order. And sound, when used with precision and intention, can restore that order. Let's look at the evidence. In studies of cymatics, scientists place sand or liquid on vibrating plates and observe how different sound frequencies create distinct geometric patterns. The lower the coherence of the frequency, the more chaotic the pattern. As the frequency becomes harmonious, the patterns become symmetrical, beautiful, and organized. Now imagine your cells as the sand, your energy field as the plate. When exposed to stress, toxic environments, or emotional trauma, the internal pattern becomes chaotic. But when exposed to coherent frequencies through sound, breath, or intention, that pattern begins to reorganize. This is why sound isn't just therapy. It's tuning. Let's go deeper. Your brain operates at specific frequencies, as you've already learned: beta, alpha, theta, delta, gamma. But you don't need to wait for your brain to shift on its own. You can use binaural beats and isochronic tones to gently guide it. By playing two tones, one in each ear, at slightly different frequencies, the brain perceives a third tone, the binaural beat, and begins to synchronize to it. Want more calm and focus? Use alpha. Want to access intuition and reprogram belief? Use theta. Want to support healing and sleep? Use delta. Want to open to inspiration and coherence? Use gamma. This is entrainment, the process of syncing your brainwaves to an external rhythm. And it works not because of belief, but because of biology. But sound doesn't stop at the brain. It moves through every part of you. Chanting, for instance, isn't just spiritual tradition. It's vibrational technology. When you chant, hum, or tone with intention, you stimulate the vagus nerve, the control center for your parasympathetic nervous system. That means less stress, better digestion, emotional regulation, and immune balance. And then there are instruments: singing bowls, tuning forks, gongs, drums. Each of these produces specific frequencies that influence different energy centers and physiological systems. A 528 Hz tone, often called the miracle frequency, has been studied for its potential to repair DNA. A 432 Hz tone is said to create harmony with the natural frequency of the Earth, enhancing peace and presence. Lower frequencies like 40 Hz have been used in brain stimulation studies to support memory and reduce symptoms of Alzheimer's. Even NASA uses sound frequency studies to simulate gravitational stress on the human body in space. Now ask, why isn't this part of everyday wellness? Because it doesn't sell pharmaceuticals. It doesn't fit into linear models of treatment. But that doesn't make it any less real. In fact, the more you begin working with sound intentionally, the more you'll experience changes that feel anything but subtle. Anxiety that lifts, focus that sharpens, creativity that flows, old emotional blocks that begin to dissolve. Not because you're trying, but because your system is remembering its original frequency. And you can create this shift daily with a few simple practices. 1. Morning tuning. Start your day by playing a frequency track aligned with your intention. Alpha or theta for calm focus, 528 Hz for clarity and heart opening, gamma for inspiration. Let the frequency create the internal space before the world tries to fill it. 2. Vocal toning. Humming, chanting OM, or vocalizing vowel sounds can release tension, clear stuck energy, and activate specific energy centers. Feel the vibration in your throat, chest, belly. Don't aim for perfection. Aim for resonance. 3. Sound-assisted meditation. Use sound as your anchor. Let each tone become a doorway to deeper presence. The sound is not the goal. It's the guide. For silence after sound. This is critical. After using sound, allow space for silence. It's in this stillness that integration happens. The nervous system recalibrates. The field adjusts. You're not just hearing sound. You're becoming sound. You're vibrating with new structure. And when your frequency changes, your reality follows. Now ask yourself, what frequencies have I been bathing in daily without awareness? What music, voices, environments have been shaping my field? And how would my life change if I chose sound that healed, focused, and elevated me? Because sound is not just entertainment. It's influence. It reaches places inside you that words cannot. It dissolves patterns too complex for logic to understand. And when used with presence and precision, it becomes one of the most direct tools for transformation available. You've now added another layer to your energetic mastery. You've trained the brain, tuned the breath, activated the body, and now vibrated the field. Next, we're going to turn this awareness towards something more personal, more intimate, and often more misunderstood. Your relationships. Because the people around you are not just in your life, they are responding to your frequency. You're about to see how your connections mirror your energy, and how upgrading your field can completely transform how others show up in your world. You've aligned your breath. You've used sound to vibrate coherence into your field. You've begun to operate from frequencies of clarity, peace, and elevated emotion. But now, it's time to look at something far more revealing than any meditation or journal entry. Your relationships. Not in the psychological sense, but in the energetic one. Because every person in your life right now is part of a quantum mirror, a reflection of your dominant vibrational patterns. You are not randomly surrounded by people, you are surrounded by frequency matches. This might sound harsh at first, but it's not punishment, it's precision. The quantum field brings into your experience those who reflect your current energetic baseline. That means your friends, partners, colleagues, even strangers, are playing roles that correspond to the script your energy is broadcasting. This doesn't mean you're to blame for everything people do, but it does mean that who you attract, who you repel, and how others treat you are all shaped by the energetic information you're carrying in your field. This explains why patterns repeat, why people leave in the same way, why the same arguments unfold in different relationships, why you keep drawing in the same type of person, even after changing your environment. It's not about the other person, it's about the frequency. So here's the first truth. The people you attract are matching your inner signal, not your stated desires. You can say you want deep connection, but if your field is filled with fear of abandonment, you'll attract those who leave. You can say you want respect, but if your energy is broadcasting self-doubt, you'll draw in people who mirror that. You can say you want loyalty, but if your system is wired for betrayal, you'll continue to call in those who validate that expectation. The quantum field is not listening to your words. It's organizing reality around your most consistent energetic output. This is the quantum mirror. And the good news is it works both ways. When you shift your frequency, your relationships must shift too. Either the people in your life rise to meet your new vibration, or they fall away, making space for new ones who match the upgraded version of you. This isn't manipulation, it's resonance. You can't force someone else to change their frequency, but you can absolutely change yours and observe how reality responds. So what does this look like in practice? Start with awareness. Ask, what recurring dynamics do I see in my relationships? Where do I feel drained, unseen, or triggered? Who brings out coherence in me? And who activates old patterns? Don't look for blame. Look for patterns. Your nervous system is wired to replay the emotional signatures it knows best, even if those signatures are painful. That's why someone with a history of emotional neglect might find chaos strangely comfortable. Not because they enjoy it, but because it matches a familiar vibration. If you don't rewire that familiarity, you'll keep attracting relationships that reflect the unresolved version of you. But here's where the power shifts. When you begin raising your frequency through breath, intention, coherence, embodiment, you begin to feel discomfort around low-frequency dynamics. Not because you're judging them, but because they no longer resonate. Suddenly, gossip feels heavy. Chaos feels foreign. Codependence feels energetically wrong. And deep presence feels like home. This is the quantum field reconfiguring your relational landscape. But you have to hold the line. Because the moment you shift your vibration, two things happen. You activate potential timelines in others, meaning they could rise to match you. You also activate resistance in others, because your change disrupts their expectation of who you've always been. That resistance can look like pushback, withdrawal, or projection. But don't collapse your frequency to maintain comfort. Instead, stay stable. Let your new energetic identity do the work. Let your field sort the match from the mismatch. When you hold coherence, those who are meant to rise will feel invited, not forced. And those who can't match the signal will organically move on. It's not rejection, it's resonance. And sometimes the people closest to you aren't aligned with your growth, not because they're bad, but because their role in your life was to reflect who you used to be. When that role expires, Clinging to it delays your expansion. This isn't coldness. This is clarity. Now let's talk about attracting new people. The same rule applies. Your field draws in matches. If you want conscious friendships, elevate your own presence. If you want supportive partnerships, become deeply self-supportive. If you want truth, speak it. If you want vulnerability, embody it. This isn't about effort. It's about signal. And when your signal stabilizes, new connections arrive without force. Not through overexposure or strategy, but through energetic gravity. You'll start to notice it. People are drawn to you without explanation. Conversations feel rich, open, unguarded. You stop needing to prove or earn love. You're simply met. Because you're no longer relating from wound, you're relating from wholeness. And that wholeness is magnetic. Let's go one layer deeper. Your relationship with yourself is the core frequency. Every interaction you have with others reflects it. Do you speak to yourself with respect? Do you hold your own emotions with patience? Do you embody the trust you want others to show you? Because if your internal tone is critical, dismissive, anxious, or reactive, others will often reflect those same tones, whether they mean to or not. This is the root of quantum alignment in relationships. Becoming the version of you that reflects the energy you want to receive. Not once, but consistently, through vibration, not performance. So ask yourself, who in my life reflects the version of me I'm outgrowing? What emotional loops keep repeating in my connections? What frequency shift am I willing to make to invite relationships that truly match my highest self? Because the quantum mirror never lies. It reflects not what you think, but what you are. Not what you say, but what you hold. Not what you chase, but what you stabilize. You've now seen that love, connection, trust, and support are not conditions to negotiate. They are frequencies to tune into. And once you do, the people who match that signal will find you without effort, without force, without delay. Next, you'll uncover something hidden beneath your field. Something many never confront, but that continues to shape every signal you send. Your unhealed past. You're about to meet the quantum shadows, the energetic residue that silently informs your identity. Until you reclaim it. You've discovered how your relationships serve as energetic mirrors, reflecting the frequency you carry, not just the personality you project. You've seen how upgrading your vibration shifts who shows up, what sticks around, and what naturally fades away. But there's a force underneath your conscious frequency that, if left unaddressed, will quietly sabotage everything you're creating. It doesn't care how high you vibrate in meditation. It doesn't respond to your vision board or affirmations. It's deeper, older, subtle. It's your unhealed past. More specifically, the energetic residue of your past. The trauma, the betrayal, the rejection, the loss, the fear that still lingers in your biofield and nervous system like echoes. These are your quantum shadows. They are not memories in your mind. They are stored frequencies. Emotional imprints frozen in time, lodged in tissue, breath, posture, behavior, and field. And until they are brought into awareness and integrated, they will continue to emit signals below the surface that attract patterns you thought you were done with. You've likely experienced this. You do the work. You raise your state. You feel in alignment. And then out of nowhere, an old trigger appears. An irrational emotional reaction. A wave of anxiety. A shutdown response. A voice in your head that doesn't sound like you. That's not failure. That's not backsliding. That's a shadow surfacing. The field isn't punishing you. It's revealing the frequency you still haven't integrated. It's asking, are you ready to meet this part of yourself with presence instead of avoidance? Because here's the truth. The quantum field reflects your total signal, not just your conscious one. And if your body is carrying the frequency of past trauma, abandonment, shame, or fear, even while your mind is focused on your future, you're sending a mixed message. And the field responds to the dominant frequency every time. So what exactly is a shadow in this context? It's any part of you that you've disconnected from because it was too painful, too overwhelming, or too unsafe to feel at the time. Could be the child who was ignored, the teen who was rejected, the adult who was betrayed, the moments you were told you were too much or not enough. When those experiences occur, and you don't have the tools to process them, your system protects you by splitting off the emotional charge and burying it. Not metaphorically, energetically. That charge doesn't disappear. It becomes encoded in your behavior, in your preferences, in your fears, and in your field. And even though your conscious mind may forget, your body remembers. Your frequency remembers. That's why you can still feel anxious in safe spaces. Still fear intimacy with someone kind. Still sabotage success when everything is going well. Because the quantum shadow is still holding onto a script. This isn't safe. This isn't deserved. This will end badly. Until you meet that part of you, not with logic but with presence, it keeps creating energetic noise. So how do you begin to clear it? You don't force it out. You don't try to override it. You include it. Step 1 is awareness. Start noticing your emotional reactions, not just the obvious ones, but the subtle ones. Where does your body tighten when something feels threatening, even if it's not? What situations make you go numb, hypervigilant, or overly accommodating? What do you repeatedly avoid, procrastinate, or attract that makes no rational sense? These are not flaws. They are doorways. They are your system's way of pointing to stored frequency, waiting for attention, not avoidance. Step 2 is permission. You give yourself full permission to feel what was once unfeelable. This doesn't mean collapsing into emotion. It means allowing space for it without judgment. Letting the body tremble, cry, sweat, shake, breathe. Not because you're trying to fix anything, but because you're making room for energy to move. Emotion is energy in motion. And when it's denied, it stagnates. When it's felt fully, it releases. Step 3 is re-anchoring safety. This is where real healing happens. You don't just feel the old pain. You create a new context for it. You show your nervous system that it's safe now. You ground into breath. You hold the energy without abandoning yourself. You become the parent, the protector, the container that the wounded part of you never had. This isn't a one-time release. It's a gradual return to wholeness. Each time you meet a shadow with presence instead of resistance, it integrates. The frequency changes. The script dissolves. And the field updates. Why does this matter in the quantum model? Because every part of you that carries unresolved energy emits unresolved frequency. And that frequency pulls in matching circumstances. You don't attract painful relationships because you deserve pain. You attract them because your field is still broadcasting the old program. Not consciously, but energetically. When that program is rewritten, not just mentally, but emotionally and somatically, the patterns stop. You literally become a non-match to that reality. And here's what's beautiful. You don't need to find every trauma or trace every story. You just need to feel what's here now. Follow the thread of discomfort. Let your body speak. Let your breath guide. Let the emotion move. You're not digging through pain. You're liberating trapped energy. And the more of your energy you reclaim, the clearer your signal becomes. That clarity is what upgrades your timeline. The field begins to reflect back more peace, more flow, more aligned people and experiences. Not because you force them, but because the old distortion is gone. You've now seen the hidden cost of carrying your past. Not just emotionally, but energetically. And you've seen the power of shadow work, not as fixing, but as frequency liberation. So ask yourself, what emotional loops keep repeating in my life? Where do I still react from fear, not presence? What part of me have I yet to fully welcome home? Because until you do, your energy stays divided. And divided energy doesn't create transformation. It recreates limitation. You're not broken. You're unintegrated. And integration is available now. Next, we turn toward the most identity-shifting stage of the journey. You've seen the shadows. Now it's time to let go of the entire version of you that was built around them. Not to destroy who you were, but to make room for who you truly are. You've begun reclaiming the scattered fragments of your energy. You've felt the stored emotions surface, not as problems, but as frozen signals finally thawing. You've witnessed how shadow frequencies, those patterns formed in pain, shape your reality long after the events that created them have passed. But now, a new doorway stands before you. Because releasing the past doesn't just shift your energy, it challenges the very structure of your identity. You're not just letting go of trauma. You're letting go of who you became in response to it. And this is where things begin to feel unstable. Not because anything's going wrong, but because something outdated is falling away. This is the collapse of your old identity. It's the moment in transformation where you stop patching up the version of yourself you've always been and start dismantling it entirely. The persona you've built to stay safe. The self-image you've constructed to be accepted. The roles you've played to gain love, respect, or survival. They all served a purpose. But now they're in the way. Let's make this real. You've probably called yourself things like, "I'm just not a confident person. I'm the one who always keeps it together. I'm a high achiever. I'm a people pleaser. I'm bad at confrontation. I'm independent. I don't need anyone." Now pause. Every one of those statements is not a fact. It's a survival strategy that's solidified into an identity. Not because it was true, but because at some point it worked. But here's the problem. The quantum field doesn't respond to what's useful. It responds to what's broadcast. And if you continue to broadcast the same limited version of yourself, no matter how self-aware you are, you'll keep collapsing the same patterns. That's why breakthrough isn't about adding new skills. It's about removing old layers. You're not becoming someone new. You're unbecoming everything you never were. But that process is intense. Because your identity, your ego, is not built to disappear quietly. It wants stability, predictability, familiarity. And when you begin to change your thoughts, habits, emotions, and behaviors to match a future version of yourself, not the past, the ego feels threatened. It says, "This doesn't feel like me. This is too risky. What if I fail? Who will I be without this story?" That resistance is not a sign to stop. It's a sign you're doing something real. So how do you move through this collapse consciously? First, you acknowledge the architecture. Start identifying the identity layers you've worn for years. The achiever, the caretaker, the victim, the lone wolf, the fixer, the rebel, the overthinker, the emotionally unavailable one. None of these are who you are. They're energetic scaffolds you built around pain, pressure, or pattern. And the moment you see them for what they are, you reclaim the power to release them. Second, you detach from the payoff. Every identity, no matter how limiting, has given you something. Maybe the overachiever gave you praise and control. Maybe the quiet one kept you from conflict. Maybe the tough one protected you from vulnerability. Maybe the helper made you feel needed. But those payoffs are outdated. You don't need them anymore. They've become cages dressed as comfort. You release them not by force, but by choosing something better. Not safer, better. Third, you grieve the version of you that's ending. Yes, grieve it. Because even dysfunctional identities can feel familiar. They've been with you for years. And letting them go can feel like a death. You might feel unsteady, emotionally raw, uncertain about who you are without the roles you've played. That's not failure. That's the in-between, the space between identities, the space where the old is gone, but the new hasn't fully stabilized. This is the quantum void, and it's sacred, because in this space you're more powerful than ever. You are not bound by memory. You are not confined by labels. You are not replaying history. You are choosing creation. The field responds fastest in this space, because the signal is not being polluted by past programming. But you must hold your center. Don't rush to be someone again. Let yourself sit in the not knowing. Let yourself breathe without identity. Let yourself exist as pure potential. This is not spiritual poetry. This is energetic mechanics. The less defined you are by the past, the more flexible your energy becomes. And the more flexible your energy becomes, the faster the quantum field reorganizes itself around your next signal. Now, a warning. During this phase, old people, patterns, and opportunities will come knocking. Why? Because the ego craves familiarity, and the field will test your new signal with echoes of your old one. You might meet a new person who feels just like the last toxic relationship. You might get offered a job that fits your past identity perfectly. You might suddenly feel the urge to fall back into old habits. These are not setbacks. They're choice points. You're being asked, are you ready to stop performing the old version of you? And every time you say no to the old, you say yes to the new. Every time you hold the new frequency, even when it's uncomfortable, you collapse the old timeline. Every time you stay grounded in the unknown, you stabilize the field. This is the collapse. It is not destruction. It is the removal of distortion. So ask yourself, what roles am I still playing that no longer serve who I'm becoming? What emotional payoffs have kept me attached to old versions of myself? What part of me is afraid to disappear because it thinks that's the only way to survive? Then breathe, because you don't need that version anymore. You're safe now, not because life is predictable, but because you're conscious. And consciousness is the only true protection. You've now reached the point where the old signal is fading. The old self is crumbling. The field is listening. So what comes next? A new identity, not built from pain but chosen from potential. You've cleared the shadows. Now it's time to install the new frequency on purpose. You've dismantled the scaffolding. The roles, masks, and emotional defense systems that once kept you safe, but now keep you small, are no longer holding you. You've stood in the void, the in-between space where the past can no longer define you and the future has not yet crystallized. Now, the question isn't who am I? It's who do I want to become? And how do I install that version into my field so completely that the universe has no choice but to respond? This is where true quantum transformation begins. Not by repeating affirmations, not by wishing, hoping, or trying, but by installing the identity that matches the timeline you desire. Here's the truth most people miss. Reality doesn't respond to your goals. It responds to your identity. Identity isn't just how you think of yourself. It's the frequency you emit. It's the choices you make when no one's watching. It's the energetic posture you hold in every moment, especially when no external proof is present. And now, with your old self collapsed, your field is malleable. It's open. It's listening. What you install now becomes the energetic architecture for everything that follows. So where do you start? You start with frequency, not fantasy. That means you don't just visualize a future version of you. You inhabit them, right here, right now, as if they already exist, because in the quantum field they do. Let's break it down. Step 1. Define the signal. What does the upgraded version of you feel like? Not what do they wear or do for a living, that's surface level. Feel deeper. How do they walk into a room? How do they handle pressure? How do they speak to themselves when they're alone? How do they respond when things go sideways? Get precise. Give it texture. Not with words, but with energy. Do they carry clarity, calm, power, curiosity, grace? Anchor those emotions, because emotions are frequency, and frequency is identity. Step 2. Connect to the field as that version of you. This is where coherence becomes critical. You can't just think the new identity. You have to broadcast it. That means tuning your breath, posture, and physiology to match the energy of the version you're becoming. You don't wait for results. You don't wait for permission. You become the signal. If you were already that person, how would you breathe? How would you sit? How would you interpret this exact moment? Start there. Then, step 3, rehearse the response. You begin to simulate real-life situations and respond as the new identity. When someone disrespects you, what does the upgraded you say? When fear rises, what does your new identity do? When uncertainty creeps in, what becomes your default inner dialogue? You're not faking it. You're installing it. This is neurological and energetic. Each time you rehearse, you build new neural pathways. You train your nervous system to normalize the identity. And you start to embody the frequency in real life, not just in visualization. The more you rehearse it, the less foreign it feels. Soon, it becomes your new baseline. Step 4. Act from the signal, before you have external proof. This is the bridge between the quantum and the physical. Anyone can act in alignment once results appear. That's reaction. Transformation happens when you generate results by acting from the identity first. You don't wait to feel confident, you show up as confidence. You don't wait for opportunities, you move like someone who's aligned with opportunity. You don't wait to be loved. You embody the frequency of love in your words, choices, and presence. And when you do, your external world begins to shift. Not because you forced it, because you became a match for it. Step 5. Stabilize through repetition. Your field responds to consistency. One powerful visualization can open a door. But repeated, emotionally coherent embodiment of your new identity, that's what builds the architecture. So you repeat the process. Morning connection to your chosen frequency. Daily rehearsal of aligned responses. Evening reflection. Did I act as the version I'm becoming, or the one I've outgrown? No guilt, no self-judgment, just realignment. Each day, each breath, each choice, an opportunity to return to the signal. And over time, something amazing happens. People begin treating you differently. Your posture shifts. Your internal voice softens or sharpens when needed. Decisions that once overwhelmed you now feel obvious. Patterns that used to hook you emotionally fall flat. Why? Because you've installed a new identity. Not in your mind, but in your field. And the field organizes reality around your dominant energetic signal. Now, some will ask, but what if I slip? What if I forget who I'm becoming? Here's the truth. Identity shifts are not clean. They are messy, nonlinear, and full of tests. But the quantum model doesn't require perfection. It requires dominance. Your new identity doesn't have to be present 100% of the time. It just has to become the most frequent signal you emit. When that happens, the field reconfigures. Circumstances begin to bend toward your new vibration. Reality becomes more aligned, more cooperative, more responsive. And you begin to feel it, that what once felt like effort now feels like flow. What once felt like pretending now feels like remembering. What once felt like a dream now feels like the most grounded version of truth. You are not becoming someone fake. You are remembering who you were before the world told you who to be. So ask yourself, what does the next version of me feel like? What signal am I willing to hold, even when no one sees it yet? What identity would make the life I desire inevitable? Because you're not here to fix yourself. You're here to upgrade your signal. And when you do, the version of you that felt impossible becomes obvious. The version of you that once seemed far away becomes inevitable. Now that your new identity is installed, there's one more key. Every choice you make from now on will either reinforce your new frequency or collapse it. Because in the quantum field, every decision doesn't just change your direction. It creates a universe. Next, you'll discover how each choice you make opens a new dimension of possibility, and how to choose with clarity, alignment, and power. You've installed a new identity not as an idea but as a living frequency. You're beginning to feel the internal shift. Your energy is stabilizing. Your actions align with a version of you that isn't reaching for change anymore. It is the change, but there's a deeper layer of transformation still waiting to be understood. And it starts with something so deceptively simple, most overlook its power entirely. Choice. In everyday life, decisions seem small. Pick the smoothie. Answer the text. Hit snooze. Stay silent. Speak up. Take the call. Avoid the challenge. But in the quantum field, every choice is not just an outcome. Every choice is a creator of reality. Right now, infinite timelines exist. Each one is shaped by the version of you who makes a specific decision at a specific moment. You're not just on a path, you're selecting one every time you choose, feel, respond, or act. To understand this, we return to the famous quantum physics experiment, the double-slit experiment. Light behaves as a wave until it's observed. The moment an observer pays attention, the wave collapses into a particle. The infinite becomes the specific. The field of possibilities condenses into one point. Now, this isn't just physics, it's your life. Every decision you make is an act of observation. Every choice you commit to is the collapse of a possibility into a lived reality. You aren't moving through time. You are generating timelines, one choice at a time. Now that you've shifted your identity, this principle becomes your most important tool. Because the field doesn't care what you hope for. It responds to what you choose consistently. And if you continue choosing from the emotional state of your old self, the future can't change, no matter how much you visualize or journal. That's why becoming someone new without choosing differently isn't enough. Let's make this practical. The new you has a frequency. Let's say it's grounded, clear, sovereign, loving. Now life presents you with a choice. Someone disrespects you. Do you collapse into people-pleasing, or choose boundaries with grace? You're invited into a business opportunity. Do you say yes from intuition, or no from fear? You feel vulnerable in a new relationship. Do you share honestly, or hide to stay safe? Each of these decisions opens one timeline and closes others. And every time you choose as the new identity, the field responds with new possibilities. Not because you forced anything, but because you chose something real. Let's pause there. This means that alignment is not a state you achieve and then maintain effortlessly. Alignment is a continual act of choosing the version of you who aligns with the reality you say you want. And here's the most misunderstood truth. Small choices matter more than big ones. Why? Because they're more frequent. And because they represent your true baseline. Saying no to the phone scroll. Waking up 15 minutes earlier to breathe in coherence. Speaking one honest sentence when you used to stay silent. Investing in a decision before the signs show up. These micro-decisions anchor your frequency. They send a signal to the field. This is who I am now. And the field says, understood, reconfiguring. But here's the rub. Most people hesitate at the edge of change because they wait for external validation. They say, I'll start when I feel ready. I'll act once I have clarity. I'll commit when the money shows up. I'll speak once they understand me. This is backwards. The quantum field doesn't reward hesitation. It responds to coherent, committed signal. And every time you wait, delay, or defer a decision out of fear, you're sending mixed frequencies. And mixed frequencies collapse old timelines. So what's the upgrade? Stop waiting to feel certain. Start choosing based on alignment. Ask yourself in every moment, what would the version of me who already has what I desire choose right now? Then act on that. Not perfectly, just consistently, and you'll start to feel something shift. Life becomes less reactive. Opportunities arise faster. People respond to you differently. You start feeling magnetized not because you're doing more, but because you're finally choosing from a coherent frequency. This is why clarity often follows commitment, not the other way around. You decide first. The timeline responds second. So let's make this even more tangible. Here are 4 quantum-aligned decision filters. 1. Does this move me closer to my chosen frequency, or pull me back into the old signal? Stop labeling decisions as good or bad. Start labeling them as aligned or misaligned. 2. Am I choosing from expansion or from contraction? If the choice makes you breathe deeper, you're likely aligned. If it makes you shrink, it's likely fear-based. 3. Am I honoring my future or negotiating with my past? Most indecision is just internal bargaining with an outdated version of yourself. 4. Would I want this choice broadcast into every cell of my body and field? Because that's what's happening. Your body doesn't lie. Your energy doesn't forget. Every choice becomes a broadcast. Now let's address something important. You will make misaligned choices. You will forget, fall into habit, react from fear. But the quantum field is forgiving because it's responsive. One coherent choice made with full presence can collapse a decade of misalignment. That's the power you hold. Not in being perfect, but in being conscious. So ask yourself, what timeline am I choosing with my habits, thoughts, and responses today? What pattern am I reinforcing by avoiding this decision? What would shift if I stopped waiting and simply chose? Because you are not waiting for your future. You are choosing it. Right now. Every thought, a frequency. Every emotion, a magnet. Every choice, a timeline. And when you begin choosing consistently from your new identity, the quantum field responds fast. Not because you're lucky, but because you've become inevitable. Next, we'll take this momentum into an even stranger truth, one that changes how you think about destiny, memory, and potential forever. What if the future you just chose is already influencing you now? You're about to see that time isn't just flexible, it's quantum. You've learned to choose from your upgraded identity. You've felt the shift. Decisions no longer come from fear or memory, they originate from frequency. And now you're starting to realize something deeper. That time, as you've always understood it, may not be what it seems. Everything until now has taught you to see time as linear, a beginning, a middle, an end. One moment after the next in a straight line. The past behind you, the future ahead of you. But in the quantum model, this view collapses. Time is not a conveyor belt. It's a field. Every moment, past, present, and future, exists simultaneously, layered in vibrational potential. And you are the observer who selects which moment becomes your lived reality by the signal you emit now. In this model, the past doesn't just influence the present. The future does too. Let that land. Your future identity, the one you just chose, the one you're broadcasting through new emotions, habits, and decisions, isn't just something you're working toward. It's something that's already trying to communicate with you. Every time you get a flash of clarity, every time you feel a sudden urge to change, every time you just know something is off, or right, or complete, that's not intuition alone. That's a signal from a timeline where you've already become the version of you that you're aligning with now. This is the quantum loop, where you are influenced by who you are becoming, just as much as by who you've been. Let's explore what this means. First, the past is not fixed. You've been told that your past defines you, that your traumas, your upbringing, your choices are etched into the bedrock of your identity. But what if that's only true in the timeline where you keep remembering them the same way? In quantum theory, the observer affects the observed. That means your perception of your past, what you focus on, how you feel about it, actually reshapes how it continues to affect your present. When you shift the emotional charge of a memory, you change the way that memory is encoded in your biofield. You can't change the event, but you can change its meaning. And when the meaning changes, the energy changes. And when the energy changes, the reality it was tethered to dissolves. That's how people experience sudden breakthroughs. That's how patterns that have run for decades collapse in an instant. Not because the facts disappeared, but because the frequency that kept recreating them was finally released. Now let's look at the other side of the loop. The future is not fantasy, it's signal. When you consistently feel called to something, an image, a pull, a deep desire, that's not random. It's not a daydream. It's the gravitational pull of a future timeline that already exists and is seeking to merge with your present. This means the urge to evolve isn't something you create. It's something you remember. You're not fabricating your highest self. You're tuning into it. It's already real, already vibrating, already alive in a parallel potential reality. And your job is not to get there. Your job is to match that version's frequency now. When you do, something stunning begins to happen. You receive guidance from that version of you. Not in words or visions necessarily, but in decisions that feel obvious, opportunities that show up at just the right moment, and emotions that tell you, yes, this is the path. People call it downloads, synchronicities, quantum intuition, but really it's resonance. You're beginning to resonate with the future you, and as a result, you start living from the timeline where you've already become them. That's why meditation is powerful. Not because it's mystical, but because it allows you to step outside the illusion of time, to feel into your future identity, and bring that frequency back into your now. The more you live from that frequency, the more your present reshapes to reflect it. And yes, it's disorienting at first. You begin to notice that your memory changes. Things that used to feel painful suddenly feel neutral. People stop recognizing you, not because you've changed your appearance, but because they can no longer read your old signal. Your timeline is shifting. This also explains why certain desires you've had for years suddenly fade. You're not losing your passion. You're realigning with a version of you that no longer needs that outcome to feel complete. This isn't stagnation. It's evolution. So how do you begin to work with time as a loop, not a line? Step 1. Stop using the past as your foundation. Your past was simply the result of past frequency. If you continue to define yourself by it, you keep collapsing the same probabilities. Forgive it. Extract the lesson. Release the emotional charge. Then let it rest. Step 2. Stop waiting for the future to confirm your change. Don't say, "When I get there, I'll believe it." Say, "I believe it, and that's why I'm already there." This is how you collapse time. You don't wait to feel like your future self. You choose to feel it now. And when you do, you shift the electromagnetic signature of your field. And reality organizes to catch up. Step 3. Ask for guidance. Not from your past, but from your future. Each morning, close your eyes and feel into the version of you already living the life you're stepping into. Ask, what would you do today? How would you show up in this situation? What have you stopped tolerating? What truth do you live by now? You're not guessing. You're tuning in. That version of you is not hypothetical. It's present, energetically accessible. And the more you align with their signal, the more your timeline reshapes. This is not magic. It's mechanics. When you collapse the idea that time is linear, you stop being a victim of the past and a beggar for the future. You become the nexus point of now, where all potential converges. So ask yourself, what timeline have I been unconsciously recycling from my past? What future version of me has already resolved what I'm struggling with now? What would change if I lived from their signal, not someday but today? Because your future is not waiting. It's calling. And the more you answer with your frequency, the more time bends to meet you. You've now stepped into the most advanced truth of quantum transformation. That creation doesn't happen over time. It happens through time. And the next frontier of that creation, your subconscious. Because while your conscious mind chooses your direction, it's your subconscious that steers the ship. And you're about to discover how to program it, not just during the day but while you sleep. You've begun to bend time not by force but by frequency. You've seen how the past is restructured through perception, how the future is accessed through alignment, and how the present is the true arena of creation. But there's one more space, one most people never use consciously, that holds immense creative power, the space between consciousness and unconsciousness, the realm of dreams. You may think dreams are meaningless flickers of memory, emotion, and fantasy. But in the quantum model, your dreams are not passive, they're programming sessions. Every night, your brain enters a highly plastic, suggestible state. Your body drops out of beta brainwaves. Your mind becomes less filtered, less rational, more symbolic, more open. And your subconscious, your inner quantum processor, starts reconfiguring everything it absorbed while you were awake. The question is not, are dreams powerful? The question is, are you using them to create on purpose? Because if you're not, your subconscious is simply replaying whatever emotional residue you left it with. It loops fear, doubt, worry, unresolved interactions, social media noise, and ambient stress. You fall asleep, but your programming continues without conscious direction. This is why so many wake up feeling tired, emotionally heavy, or reactive. Even if they got a full night's sleep, they didn't just rest. They rehearsed low-frequency realities all night. But what if you flipped that? What if your dreams became a tool, not a side effect? This is where quantum dreaming begins. Let's break it down. Your subconscious cannot tell the difference between a real event and a vividly imagined one. That's not woo-woo, it's neurology. When you visualize something with emotional intensity, your brain lights up the same regions it would if you were actually experiencing it. So if you go to sleep in a state of fear, regret, or worry, your subconscious records those emotions as instructions. This is the frequency we're operating from. Let's keep scanning for more of this tomorrow. But when you intentionally shift your emotional and energetic state before sleep, your subconscious accepts that as the new default setting. And it begins to build toward it through dreams, memory reprocessing, and physiological shifts. This is why indigenous cultures treated dreams as prophecies. Why visionaries throughout history used sleep to solve problems. Why so many breakthroughs arrive at 3 a.m. between the worlds of form and frequency. You are not just a body in a bed. You are a field receiving and transmitting data even while you sleep. Let's make this usable. Here's how you begin to program your dreams to align with your new identity. Step 1. Pre-sleep intention. Don't fall asleep to noise. Fall asleep to a command. This is not a verbal wish. It's an emotionally charged signal. You say to your subconscious, "This is who I am now. This is what we're building. This is the feeling we normalize." You can do this through gratitude rampages, future self journaling, heart-focused breathing, listening to theta frequency audio, visualizing the next version of you as if it's already done. The goal isn't to get hyped. The goal is to imprint your subconscious with an emotionally coherent blueprint. If you feel it as real, your field accepts it as instruction. Step 2. Give the subconscious a question. Before sleep, plant a seed. Ask something like, "Show me what I need to release." Reveal what my next aligned step is. Integrate my highest timeline tonight. Let me meet the version of me who's already living this frequency. You're not demanding. You're directing. Your subconscious will respond, not always in words, but through symbolism, emotions, or dream fragments. The more you practice, the clearer it gets. Step 3. Track and decode. Keep a notebook by your bed. The moment you wake up, even before grabbing your phone, capture what you remember. Even if it's just a mood, a symbol, a phrase, or a feeling. Don't overanalyze. Just record. Patterns will emerge. Messages will clarify. Your dream space will become a language you begin to understand. And more importantly, it becomes an arena of intentional creation. Step 4. Close the loop. Take what your subconscious gives you and act on it. Did you dream of speaking your truth? Speak it. Did a person show up with emotional weight? Consider what part of you they reflect. Did your dream self behave boldly? Let that version of you take the lead today. When you honor the dream material, your subconscious knows you're listening. And it begins offering more. More insight. More integration. More access to timelines that were previously hidden behind old emotional code. Now let's go deeper. Your dreams are not just replaying your day. They're accessing multiple timelines. This is why sometimes your dream self behaves in ways your waking self never would. It's not random. It's rehearsal. Your subconscious is trying out other versions of you, testing responses, exploring outcomes, visiting timelines. The question is, are you observing passively or choosing actively? When you enter sleep with intention, you enter a theater where you're not just watching, you're directing. You get to say, "This version of me isn't relevant anymore. This frequency is the one I'm claiming. Let the dream show me what I'm still holding that I'm ready to release." And as you refine this practice, something extraordinary happens. You begin to receive solutions that seem to come from nowhere. You wake up with clarity. You begin to feel a gentle reorganization of your nervous system, your mood, and your baseline thoughts. You are literally reprogramming your identity while you rest. This is not escapism. This is efficiency. You don't have to work harder during the day when your night is doing half the work for you. So ask yourself, how have I been ending my days, emotionally and energetically? What frequency do I send into the field while I sleep? What would change if I began using my dreams as instructions for reality? Because you're not just dreaming. You're architecting. You're giving your subconscious a map. You're collapsing time. You're tuning your field into coherence so completely that even your sleep becomes aligned with your transformation. You've now learned to breathe in the quantum field, to think in frequency, to choose with power, to collapse time, and now to dream in signal. Next, we'll look outward to the world around you. Not the metaphysical, but the tangible. Because even your home, your objects, and your routines are shaping your field in ways you've never realized. And once you understand how energy imprints on space and matter, you'll begin to align everything in your reality with the new you.